Hello everyone. Welcome. Good morning. We're about to start this new live stream with the creator's help, and we're just waiting for some guests to come so we can actually talk to people to make it exciting. In the meantime, we could talk about current events in the Torah calendar. This coming Shabbat Saturday is the Shabbat before the Hebrew month of Elul. Elul is the last month of the Jewish Torah calendar, and it is the month before the Jewish New Year. And it says that anything that happens during the month of Elul is what's going to happen throughout the entire year. And this coming Sabbath is the coming month. So this Sabbath has the ability to bless the entire year. Hi, welcome, Ara. Hi. What's up?
Nothing. I'm so sorry that you had to listen to those people. They were like super anti-Semitic. I don't even know how long I was like in that comment section, like arguing with that guy. Honestly, it felt like way too long, but like I could not let it go.
Yeah, there was for those of us just joining, I was talking about a different live stream that we were just on, where we were discussing Jewish versus Christianity, and trying to go through the different sources in the Torah, basically. But then there was like some conflict in the comments. Was there anything you wanted to add to that conversation, or nah?
My conversation was mostly happening in the comment section, and then that guy came up after. I hope that he will consider some things that I said to him, because I'm Christian, but I am like very my whole life I've been very trying to like foster relationships between Christians and Jewish people, because that's kind of, my grandfather was a Baptist minister, and that was kind of his main, I guess, like mission that he did, and he loved Israel and everything. So I kind of got that from him. And so when I hear other Christians doing things like that, it absolutely, like, I cannot handle it. Like, I just can't believe it.
Okay, yeah, it was getting kind of brutal in the last like half hour or so, but yeah, basically.
Yeah, but it was like very, very classic anti-Semitic tropes and stuff, and I was like, oh my goodness. And like I'm not saying that like he got these ideas recently, but obviously like anti-Semitism has like just increased so much. So, who knows? And he may have already felt that way, but it might be from like the garbage that's all over the internet right now. But I don't know. I just can't stand to see and hear that. So I can't imagine what that must like feel like for like someone that's Jewish to see that. So I'm like, most Christians like love and support the Jewish people. I honestly, I wouldn't consider that person to necessarily have a relationship with Christ, because you wouldn't treat people like that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it sounds like most of them support most of us, which is good. So yeah, it just depends on the person. But it's all good. Here we are, new discussion. So yeah, is there anything you wanted to know or ask about Judaism or anything in the Torah in general?
I feel like I've been learning a lot about it, because I go in all the lives. I go in like Hebrew Hammer's live, and I listen to his Torah study and stuff. So that's like actually been really interesting.
Interesting. You remember something he said recently that stuck in your mind?
I don't think necessarily anything specific. I think it's really interesting, like learning. So obviously, like I feel like we don't focus on like the Old Testament quite as much, and so it's been really interesting hearing more about that, and just I guess like kind of hearing like like a different, I don't want to say perspective per se, but like I guess going more in depth. It's very interesting to me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the Torah has infinite depth, and there's a lot to learn.
Yes, so, yeah. And I
guess we got cut out. You're still there.
Oh wait. Okay. Yeah. So but yeah, no, it's just interesting, and like hearing different I guess sets of beliefs, kind of like within Christianity, where you have like some different because I know you have like the was it like the Messianic, like Jewish people, which I've never really knew any of people like that, but I've met people like that now. I think that's interesting. And I like hearing it, but I think I really appreciate, like, because I really do believe in like Judeo-Christian values. And so it always like still like resonates with me and speaks to me. And I like that.
That's cool. That's cool. Welcome to our new guest. He just left, but I'm very thank you. It's all good. Yeah, I just invited a bunch of people. Yeah, it's all good. But they can come back if they want. Yeah, definitely a lot of different opinions, which is good, I guess. Could be good.
Yeah. Like, I guess my question would be like, how can I best support you guys right now? Like with the climate and being how it is with people and stuff, like what can I do that's like best, like helpful and supportive?
That's a really good question. I mean, it sounds like you've been doing it up until now, which is really good. Just supporting, being supportive in general. Seems like supportive attitude. So I haven't really thought about what specifically. I don't know. It sounds like you were doing it so far, which is good.
Yeah, I try to do everything that I can. Like I donate every month. Well, I did this before everything happened anyways, just because, again, I kind of took over like what my grandfather did. But I do like monthly donations to like Israel through like the foundation for like Christians and Jewish people. So I do that still. And then I've basically just made it like a point to just like, I don't know, it may not sound helpful, but just being on this app, I just am constantly like, I don't know, trying to go into like different lives and just like, I don't know, put out like the truth, because otherwise, a lot of people, it won't get out there. So just trying to correct like narratives and stuff, or if I hear something like that's not correct, like I'll try to do something about it.
You're talking about like the narrative for the war that's been going on.
Yes.
Yes, definitely a bunch of misinformation from the other side. It's unfortunate. Yeah, I never thought. Yeah, I didn't think it would be possible for this amount of misinformation to even happen, but it did.
Exactly. Like it's wild, and then I go into like, I don't know if you like, I listen to like Hebrew Hammer and Nick when they do the lives every night and like go through everything. So I have like, I've read the books that he has like recommended and everything. So like, I'm pretty good at like, I know everything pretty well. Like, I mean, I think I knew a lot of the history like before, but now like on a daily basis, I like learn all of like, the misinformation in real time so I can debunk it. And then like recently it's become, and I would say like just within the past few weeks, I've noticed seeing it a little more from like the further right side, which obviously, not that it didn't exist, but I feel like you don't see as much of that now. And so that's like my area of expertise, because I'm like, oh yeah, like that, I like grew up like learning how to counter that narrative. So
what is that narrative? I'm not sure if I'm familiar.
Just with like just the anti-Semitic tropes of like the Jews killed Jesus, like just those awful things that are like very classic and well known, yet somehow like that person in the last life like feels comfortable saying. Wild to me. Just people with like conspiracy theories, like I don't know if you've seen Candace Owens, but she's absolutely lost her mind.
Right about that. Yeah, one of the main things was she liked like one of the a post that accused the Jews of like drinking Christian blood or something like that.
Yep.
That was one of the main things. And
all very classic, like should be well known to be untrue. I mean, the things that but like, oh my gosh, like when I listened to her like recently, because I wanted to see, like, part of me was like, okay, I don't want to give her views, but I at least wanted to have an idea. And I was like so horrified that I just like, I couldn't even believe it. Like, I don't know. I feel like I hear things all like recently and I just like cry because I just can't believe that it's like really being said. So that's why I'm like, I just can't imagine how it feels for the Jewish people? Because it like scares me.
Yeah, I mean, the Jews have been dealing with this for thousands of years, pretty much. We just kind of deal with it.
I know, like you guys are always having to, but like I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I do feel like it's increased.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, you always learn about this stuff, like about World War II growing up, but I never thought it would actually happen. Again.
Exactly. Like that's what it is, I think, is like I hear and see things that are so, I guess because like I have always been so interested in World War II history and everything. And I guess, I don't know, maybe these people just didn't study things, but I mean, I have had moments where I have just been like, I swear these people are quoting some, like, I'm trying to think how TikTok language says it. Like, I think they say like Yahtzees. Like, they sound like that.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
like I literally have heard that, and like I remember, like I literally cried. Like I called my mom and I cried because I was like, Mom, I can't. Like I feel like I am in a textbook or a book that I read, and like I can't believe this is life in 2024.
Yeah, they're probably going to go back down in history. I mean, yeah.
Well, and I mean, you know, I hope not, but I tell people all the time, like, anybody that's Jewish, I'm like, if you ever not safe where you live, like, you can come stay with me, and I mean it, because, like, I'm sure it's like, very scary in certain parts of the country.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, I'm in New York. I mean, I've been fine. Sometimes people get, like, randomly attacked, I've heard, but it depends. Yeah, I think the main reason why, like, Christians support the Jews because like people, they know about like what the Torah says, like about like the Jewish people, where they come from, you know, which like the kingdom of Israel. Like people in the secular world don't know anything about that. It's kind of unfortunate. Like in the schools, they don't teach that at all.
Yeah, I think that's probably why. Yeah, because I mean, obviously we still learn the Old Testament, like, you know, and that was like very like well explained and everything. Like the Jewish people are God's chosen people. You need to like support them. You need to like, you know, protect them. Like it's like, I don't know how to explain it. I feel like I feel like my grandfather like always kind of like prepared me for something like this, but I don't think he would have ever thought it was going to happen like when I was like, you know, the age that I am in my 30s. Like he probably didn't think that was ever going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think anyone did.
Yeah, so it's just been like crazy. But I am glad. I know that my friends in New York that are Jewish, I think they felt like pretty like safe just because of like there's, you know, like larger groups of you there and everything, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, helping. Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned about they learn about the helping Jew because it mentions in the verses like those who bless the Jewish people are blessed themselves. So
yes, and that is a very real thing. Like yeah. I am absolutely convinced, and I think, and I mean, I think when you turn your back on the Jewish people, like I think that I mean, I think it's pretty evident. I think throughout history, it's pretty clear. You know, I mean, you don't have to go by like biblical history. You can just go through regular history books and see, you know, that God is always going to be on the side of the Jewish people. And I mean, I don't know, if I were I would think you would want to be on that side with the Jewish people. I don't know why you'd want to be on another side. So
yeah, that's cool. That's cool. It's true. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned earlier about that you studied like the history about like how Israel started. I've been trying to study it also since it started. Did you want to like maybe explain like a quick rundown of like how the Jews like got into the land? Like, because a lot of people say like, oh, the Jews are just like occupying like Palestinian land, but is that like true, or by the history books don't say that? Basically, just like to dispel the beliefs for everyone else listening.
Yeah. Like the Jewish people have always maintained a presence in that land, and they are indigenous to that land. I know that you can tell, like, if someone is indigenous by if they maintain their like religion, their like cultural practices, and their language. The Jewish people have maintained all of those things. You know, the religion, everything, prayers and holidays are connected to the land. You know, there's like, there's not really, I'm shocked that anyone can even question it, but I've learned now kind of like the narratives and the tactics of that they do, but like, to me, I'm like, this is so obvious. Like, and I know that the Jewish people had to go into the diaspora, you know, when like Romans came in and everything, but again, they still maintained their presence in that land. So, and then, you know, obviously the state of Israel was created, and that I think we see now more than ever the need for that.
Yeah, definitely a place the Jewish people can defend themselves. Yeah, so the Jewish people have always been connected to the land of Israel historically. I mean, the Creator Himself gave it to them forever. Do you know like the details of like specifically like 1948? Like what? Like I'm pretty sure the Jewish people just didn't like do anything wrong. They were just like there, and then they defended themselves. But people say like, what do you think based on the books you read?
Yeah, so I think that you know, I think that, you know, obviously it was like the British mandate of Palestine, and you know, instead of like the first thing, like, you know, the people living in Palestine did, like, they didn't, you know, immediately be like, okay, what do we need to do to like create our statehood and, you know, do all of this. It was like, you know, immediately like attacking the Jews, and you know, and then there was the Arab-Israeli war, and you know,
Oh, you cut out for a second.
oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. Just like 1 second, it cut out. Yeah, you said that the Arab-Israeli war, and then it cut out. Right now.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, so the Arab like Israeli war, I know that the Jewish people like won that, and typically in history, you know, you win a war and you know, you win the land. It's just kind of how it's usually gone. But of course, no, because, you know, they don't want to let the Jewish people have the land. I think obviously people say it's not a religious war, and it absolutely is a religious war. But, you know, kind of like you said, a lot of people aren't brought up in religion now, so they might not understand it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I just want to like dispel the notions of like all the other people, like they always claim like stuff like the Nakba, like wasn't that term made up like later? Like what, did the Jews commit any like specific crimes when they went into the land, or I don't think they did. They just like lived there and then accepted the deal. I think
and I mean, when they fought, I think it's interesting because when all of the Arab countries fought them, I mean, if you think about it, you know, it was not like a legit military. It was a bunch of like HCOS survivors and then kind of just people that had been on the land. But I think it's also important to note that like a lot of the land Israel had was like not good land, and they fixed it up to where it was more like inhabitable. But I think it's interesting because I know a large portion of what was considered to be like Palestine with like the British mandate and everything. I just think it's interesting because like a lot of that was given to Jordan, but they don't care about that. Like they never say anything about that. And they also, I mean, they'll say it's like occupied, but like per the Oslo II Accords, like they're allowed to have settlements in Area C. And from everything that I have been told by Israelis and things like that, if people do try to go and build settlements in, you know, Area B or anything like that, the government will come and will remove them.
Interesting. So the area B is the area that's designated for the Arabs to live. Is
Yeah.
that okay? Interesting. Well, so
Yeah.
what about like originally? Like I always hear people say the Jews just came in from Europe, kicked all the Palestinians out of their land. Like, it doesn't sound true to me. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, again, like so they had maintained a presence in that land. Now, I mean, if you look at it, to me, like Palestinians are no different than Jordanians. I mean, they're Arabs. Obviously, they're from the Arab Peninsula. I think there's a good argument to be made that honestly, I think that they could be considered colonizers in a way, but no one wants to have that discussion.
Right.
Because I think that's interesting. But yeah, no, I mean, it's like interesting the way that people have framed this. And I think what they've done though is they're trying to push or spin this narrative that is understandable to people in the West so they can get people on their side. So they do this whole oppressor thing, this whole they try to make it like a racial dynamic thing, which is really bizarre to me because I mean, Israel's very racially diverse. I mean, it's just I see what they're doing and I see why they're spinning it that way, but I mean, I haven't seen any good argument on their behalf.
Yeah. I mean, when discussing them, it always goes back to a few things. Just Israel's the occupier, therefore, they can't be there at all. They have no right to be there. I don't know. It doesn't seem. I'm not an expert in the history, but I mean, I think they just after the HCOS, they just went into their own land, and then the British that owned the land gave them more land. Is that right, or do you have anything?
No, so they gave them the land, and actually, Palestine had a little bit more land. And I know, oh gosh, I can't remember in between one of the agreements. I'd have to look up. I know that at one point, Israel had given. I think Israel had the West Bank, and I think they gave more of it up.
Is that in the Oslo Accords in the 90s?
Yeah, I want to say, maybe that's what it was, because someone was saying they really shouldn't have done that because it legitimized more of their, untrue things they like to spew.
Originally when they came in, what did they do? They just went in. I mean, the other side, they always say the Jews just came in from Europe, kicked out everyone. But,
they don't mention sales of land. They don't mention again the parts of Israel that were not even inhabitable that the Jewish people built up and made livable. So they just kind of like to tell a really specific narrative, but I've learned all of their narratives at this point, for everything, because they have a certain narrative they'll try to do to get me. So if they find out I'm a Christian to turn against the Jewish people. I learned those a while ago because they all say the same things. So it's a lot of it's repetitive on their part too.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the very specific I don't know if you know the series of events that happened or stuff, because there's a lot of twisted information. I think it seems it all goes back to just what they call the Nakba, which I think was a term that came in the 60s, I think.
Yeah, and from my understanding that they stole that term from the Jewish people. But yeah, I mean, they kind of do a lot in general. I've noticed they steal a lot of terminology, apartheid, which is absolutely ridiculous. But they'll still. It's interesting because if things are truly horrific in a certain way, you don't really have to steal words from other people's atrocities, but they really like to do HCOS inversion. They the apartheid, it's a bunch of buzzwords.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense. And I'll say, what is it, 20% of of Israelis are like Arab, and there's like, you know, there's multiple types of, you know, religious like sanctuaries and things like, but no one really wants to hear it because they've been propagandized and like brainwashed.
Interesting. Yeah, just trying to find like exactly like what to tell them when they tell me that the Jews came in from Europe and just kicked everyone. Like I know it's not true. I just don't know like
You
like
know what's like a really good, oh man, where is it? There's a really good book that one rabbi told me about. Oh my gosh, what is it? It was so good. Gotta find it. Let's see. Guess I can look up them.
because there's like there's so much misinformation. If you search online, you're gonna find one article that says like some stuff, and another article that says other stuff. Like don't even.
The misinformation is horrendous.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. Like, honestly, it's really honestly genuinely scary to me. I didn't realize, like, in this day and age, like, I thought it would be a little bit easier to find credible sources. And it's kind of the opposite from what I have noticed. Where is this book? Hold on. I'll just look up the name of the book because
my understanding the Jews were just there, and then at one point, for whatever reason, Britain decided to leave, and then they just split up the land, and it was almost equal. And then they gave like a large portion of the Jews and the other part to the Arabs, and then the Arabs just said no, we want all the land, and we want the Jews to leave completely. And then they started a war against the Jews, and then they left. Then they lost. I think that's what happened. I could be wrong, but interesting. I guess got this guy. Yeah, interesting. I guess she's temporarily disconnected, but it's all good.
sorry, hold on. I'm looking up the name of the book.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Okay. It is. Okay, it's when and how the Arabs had integrated to the land, but it's really, really good. It's like very much so a historical read, but they have like sources for everything. Like like I said, it's definitely like a textbook type of read. It's not, which I love though, cause I'm weird, but, but it's like fantastic knowledge. And cause like, I wanted to have more of the history as well, like to where, I could at least like have it all in one place, to kind of be able to like look through it. And so I think I got volume 2, which kind of covers like the main, from like the 1900s, like on, to be able to understand it. But like, yeah, the rabbi that like suggested that, I was like, this is so helpful. Like it was so, cause he's so knowledgeable about that stuff. And I was like, I want to know like what you know.
What's the author of that book?
Lissak.
Lissak.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Cool. It sounds pretty tedious reading.
It is, but like I loved it because I guess because it's useful and I feel like I'm constantly talking about it, so I like to know what I'm talking about. Like I don't want to be that person that just like spreads like misinformation or like I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about. And especially when I go into like these pro-Pally lives, because they will try to like trip you up and all this stuff. Like they try to do these little gotcha things. And I'm like, nope, absolutely not. Like,
nice.
Like, I actually know what I'm talking about. So, like, it honestly, like, I think it was literally the best, like, read that I could have possibly had. And it was volume 2. I checked. It was volume 2.
That's cool. Yeah, so for those of us who may not want to read the entire textbook, do you want to give a quick some synopsis of what you remember specifically about like the origins of like what happened in the state and like what the other side says was the Nakba, but what really happened? Like, do you want to share what you know about that or not?
It's hard to say what the other side says because they change their story a lot.
Yeah. What's the truth? What's the reality according to what you?
So, I mean, the reality is that, so, I mean, their version of things is they make it sound like they, just randomly had to leave one day and never come back. When obviously that like wasn't the case. But I think the biggest thing to point out is that, they didn't take the initiative to form their own state. Like from day one, they were like, they don't want to live with Jews. Like, and if you don't understand religion, you're not going to get that. But like that, I mean, I'm sorry, it is what it is. Like that's, I mean, cause like I said, they didn't care about Jordan. Like, Jordan has a lot of their land. Like they didn't care about that. And so I think it's,
where is the quote unquote Palestinian land? If you know, like where is it?
Like, what do you mean? Like now?
Like where do they claim it was? What did they claim it was? I don't even know. Like was?
Well, they claim everything because I think it's like the West Bank and everything. It was like it's like technically like Judea and Samaria. So technically, like the colonizer name would be like West Bank and stuff. But yeah, I mean they want all of the land that is Israel. They say that is their land. And that's why, like, when they say river to the sea, like they mean it. Like I've seen them, like people in Israel point out like the whole thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like they'll deny it, but that's what it means.
And if it was in Jordan, then isn't that even past the river?
So Jordan, yeah, I mean it went, but they don't ever ask for that land back. They don't ask for the land back from Jordan.
What is it? What's the history of them with the land? Like they were, like I'm just trying to understand like the general idea. So like they claim that they had Jordan and all of Israel, but then they lost it, but they're not getting back Jordan land.
I have not actually heard them speak about Jordan. I just know that from, I guess honestly, maybe the rabbi was talking about it. Because they don't ever talk about that.
Interesting. So the Jordan land was also part of the same land they're claiming, but they don't talk about it.
So Jordan has that land, now, but they don't ever talk about that. They just focus on Israel because obviously, again, like they don't want to live with Jewish people. So that's why they focus on that.
Interesting.
So it's, but yeah, no one ever talks about that. Like, I didn't even know that. Like, I was like, wait, what? Like, I had no idea that they had kept like a portion of that land. And I mean, why would they talk about it? Because that doesn't really fit their narrative. But they will throw stuff at you. Like, so much of it is just, like really anecdotal, like just propaganda, like videos with like, just really sad stories and music, and it's not really like verifiable, or it'll be like horrific images, and a lot of them are from Syria. Not saying that like bad things don't happen. I mean, that's war. That's why you don't start a war. But they like the propaganda tactic is to just like shove it in your face, like, and just like emotional burnout at this point to where you like take in those narratives. Cause I feel like I watched like an entire generation get indoctrinated within a few months on this app. It was fascinating and disturbing all at once.
Yeah, definitely. It seemed like a few days, I think, originally. I just want to like understand like what to say back to these guys. It seems like they're all saying the same stuff. Like, I guess it all goes back to that deal. What was the name of that deal? The
Oslo?
It was like in the 1948 when the Britain decided to split the land.
When they did when they split up the Mandate of Palestine. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, the British that's who gave the land. And technically, like I said, I mean, I think the Palestinians got like 10% more land or something. It wasn't even like that much, but they split it. So, I mean, it's not even like Israel was like, oh, we want this or that. It's like, that's what they were given, which is also like ironic because you would think the way that they talk about it that Israel just came in and was like, okay, this is ours and this is ours. And that they like the apartheid thing. And how they completely, they do not like to talk about this, how they withdrew from the West Bank and everything. And then in 2006, like H Group came into power. And
that was a really bad decision that Israel made.
Yeah. Well, in Egypt, then Egypt was no longer being the security for that border. And then, I mean, because then, you had the like intifadas and then you have to have security and you have to have checkpoints. And it makes complete logical sense if you understand the reality of it. But to others, not like, because they've been sold this narrative of like oppression and all this stuff. I mean, honestly, it's propaganda. Like to me, I think it is, or I know it is. It's like Soviet propaganda for sure. Because it's like very classic techniques. Because I'm like really interested in all of that. Like with the, like I've gotten like super into like wanting to learn about that and how people indoctrinate people into things. And, like from like, I would say the 7th, like this app was filled with bots who would just say the same narratives over and over again. And like, that's like a classic like technique in propaganda where like you say the same thing over and over again. Eventually people are going to believe it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's been really interesting to learn about because I'm just like, oh my gosh, like just it's so.
We cut out. Okay.
It's so clear, but it's like everyone has fallen under this spell. Like that's how it feels. Everyone is under this spell of propaganda. Some people I think have woken up a little bit. Some people I don't know that they will, and that's scary. Or until it's too late. But I mean, I think we also know at the end of the day, like there's not going to. Like Israel's not going to go away. Like it's just not. And so like the whole premise of it is it's like part of a larger battle, but people again don't realize that because they're from the West and they don't understand like the geopolitics that go into everything there. And like I come from like half of my family is like Persian, so like I'm pretty aware of like the regime and everything in Iran and kind of how they do things. And they've always kind of used the Palestinian cause like in their favor for things. And they were behind like funding it and everything. So there's like a lot bigger things going on, and they've just managed to use propaganda to focus in on just this one piece, while behind the scenes they are just, I mean, they themselves, the regime has like significantly increased the, how do I say it in TikTok language, unalivings that they're doing to innocent civilians have like increased tenfold. You see a lot more like T-acts being attacked, or carried out throughout places. And so it's, I mean, they spend a lot of money on propaganda. So, I mean, I would say they've won the propaganda war, unfortunately.
For now, the battle, maybe not the war, but the battle. Hi, welcome, Samuel Hast. Nice to have you.
Boker Tov, guys, from New Jersey. Boker Tov from New Jersey.
You're from New Jersey? I'm from Brooklyn.
Where are you from?
I'm in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, wonderful. You know, I many years ago I went to. I'm a musician, so many years ago I wanted to be in the Shelley Zellman Nagina, Nefshenu, and Neshoma orchestras, and I'm a very good trumpet player, but you know, he kind of turned me away, took the wind out of my sails because I needed to learn 1,001 songs. So that never panned out, but yes, yeah.
That's interesting. That's an orchestra in Brooklyn? I never heard of it.
Yes, Shelley Zellman, I think it's Shelley Zellman, was the original leader of Nagina orchestras.
Interesting.
They did a lot of, I think they did a lot of Bayside Brooklyn weddings.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's an amazing time we're living in, huh?
Yeah, the times of the Messiah that he was.
Well, Baruch Hashem, Bezrat Hashem. I hope you're right. I really hope you're right on this.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's interesting. October 7th this past year in the Hebrew was the day that the Jewish people finished reading the Torah. Every week the Jews read a little part of the Torah, and then every year they finish it and start over again from the beginning. So that day was the day that we finished the Torah, and the same day that we started over again. And the very first verse of the Torah, in the commentator Rashi, who was accepted by the Jewish people as authoritative. So Rashi, on the first verse of the Torah, the beginning of the Torah, he talks about this exact same idea that the war is about. He said that the entire reason why the Torah begins with the creation of the worlds, as opposed to just really, it says really the book of Torah is a book of laws for the Jewish people. The word Torah means law, so really the Torah should have started already in the middle of Exodus, when the Jewish people were already a nation, when they already started getting laws. So really the Torah could have started then. So the Torah did not need to tell us about the creation of the world. It did not need to tell us about like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all that. That could have been in a different book. But the Torah is like specific law. So it says, Rashi says that it should have started with these other laws later. But the reason why it started with the creation of the world is only because in case the nations of the world would claim that the Jewish people stole the land of Yisrael from the Canaanite nations, it says in order for the Jews to dispel that notion, the Creator made it an eternal testimony in the Torah that the Creator made the entire world. And that's like the first primary thing of the Torah. Like the first thing to know that the whole universe belongs to the Creator, and all of the land in the universe belongs to the Creator. And the Creator could give the land to whoever he wants. So he allowed the Canaanite nations to live there for a temporary period of time, about 440 years. And then the Creator took that land from them and gave it to the Jewish people as an eternal inheritance, as it's by the story of Abraham, where he promises the land to Abraham as an eternal inheritance, eternal covenant, and to Isaac and Jacob. So that's the entire reason why the entire book of Genesis, the entire creation account exists in the Torah.
It's fascinating. It's because it's almost a contract between God and his people, and a history book that cannot be edited, so that the whole world has access to this history book if they choose to look and listen and read, and it's right there in black and white, as they say.
Yes, black and white, black and tan, depending on the color. So, yeah.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Baruch Hashem. Thank you for the lesson and the education. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'll pop down now, but it was so nice talking to you. Yeah, I'm sure I'll see your panel again at some point. But make sure you get that book.
Maybe I'll look into it. It's a big book.
It is, but you can go like section by section, so at least like you would kind of have an idea of some of the talking points.
Yeah, maybe I'll make an AI version that's easier to read.
Yes, like that, yeah. Or if you go into like Hebrew Hammer, like him and Nick that do the lives that are like they do them like at night and stuff. They're really good. Like they are super knowledgeable.
Hebrew Hammer is actually very, very, very impressive.
I was there in one of their lives one time as a guest. They were asking about the Talmud, and then we got into kind of a minor debate.
There's also Mufasa, who's very knowledgeable of the history of the land of Israel. And Mufasa's a very sweet guy, and he debunks a lot of these pro-Pali, anti-Semitic mantras.
Interesting.
Yes, but
That's cool.
yeah, I could tell that you really know your stuff, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon and learning more from you.
Yeah.
Right now, I need to get my children prepared. They're leaving on El Al September 5th.
Oh, nice.
Hashem, they are going to land in Ben Gurion, and they will be settling in Kiryat Gat, with surrounded by mishpacha, and they're so it's going to be bittersweet. It'll be bittersweet.
I'm sure you'll probably visit one day, or
Oh
something.
well, I was married in Israel, in Kfar Saba, Israel, and divorced in Hackensack, New Jersey. So, so the mother will be be a returning citizen, and my sweet half American, half Israeli children, Aviv and Ben, will be settling finally in Israel on request. About several years ago, my daughter confronted me, and we sat, and my daughter explained to me, "Please, Dad, this is something that I really want. I miss my family in Israel." And I said, "Honey, if it comes from your lips, thank you for sitting down with me. This is what I want you to have." And it kept getting pushed back, and now they're finally booked the flight. So we're excited. We're excited.
Cool.
And their grandfather and whole family are very excited too.
That's cool. That's cool. Israel, yeah. I mean, I've never been, but I've heard about it.
Oh, you've never been to Israel?
Not yet.
Oh, is that? Let me ask you, because I understand there is a branch of Hasidim that believe we should not be sojourning there, or we should not be until the Mashiach leads us by the hand, I guess, spiritually or physically, to the land of Israel. That's another philosophy of a Hasidic branch, a branch of a Hasidim.
There are some people who have mixed feelings about that. I mean, first of all, it does say that it's a very good thing to live in Israel in general. It says like the air is like holier, and it says it's like it's very, very holy place to be. But the thing is that once someone does go there, then in general they're almost never supposed to leave. So once someone goes there to live, except for very few exceptions, it says one is never supposed to live anywhere outside the land of Israel. So for that reason, a lot of people don't go, not because it's not a good place to be, but because they need to do stuff outside of Israel. Like there's still a lot of Jews that are in exile that they need to bring out of exile. So if they go to Israel, then it's like they're there, but then they can't really do the stuff that they want to do outside of Israel, essentially.
So you're saying the commitment to, once you land in Israel, is that a religious commitment from diaspora to
Yeah,
being
from the
in
Torah,
Israel?
from the Talmud, it says, so there's like very few exceptions, but in general, it says from the Talmud law, it says that it's like generally forbidden for someone to leave Israel once they go. Sometimes they can go out for like short times or for very specific reasons in some cases, but it's like, it's very difficult, and you have to find exceptions, and there's like a lot of like things you have to do. So if people have things to actually do, like work to do outside of the land of Israel, like to influence the Jews in America or other countries, to bring them closer to the Torah, then then in that case, those people generally wouldn't go to Israel because they still want this.
That's the exception. I see. Yes. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's a beautiful country. I've been there a number of times, and it's I feel like my destiny has been written, and God communicates to me in a very strong way. When I find when it's difficult to figure things out mentally, I feel like He takes over and says, "Okay, you belong here, you belong there, you should be doing this right now." Or my mother used to say, "Everything in its own time."
Interesting. Yeah. Over here. Yeah, I mean, ultimately it's a good thing to go, but it's also not like a requirement. So there's still a lot of good things to do outside the land of Israel. When Mashiach comes, though, we believe the Jews are just going to be like miraculously transported to Israel, like lifted off from the ground. I mean, it says in the Talmud, it says that the synagogues that exist outside the land, they're going to be miraculously uprooted from the ground and lifted in the air and travel in the air towards Israel, and then land on the temple and land throughout Jerusalem, basically. So
That's wild.
yeah.
That's wild. But I did see that piece in your TikTok that says just do one good deed, and sometimes I guess we forget, that it goes along with the it runs parallel with you save one life, you've saved the world, I believe.
Yeah.
And I wonder
Yeah.
if the opposite is true. If you destroy one life, have you destroyed the world?
It does say in the same context. Yeah, those two statements are said in the Talmud in the same sentence, and it's written by the Rambam, the Maimonides. But yeah, the Maimonides, the Rambam, who's a medieval century rabbi accepted by all the Jewish people, he writes in this section of his book called The Laws of Repentance. It says that one should always view the world as if it's balanced on a perfect scale of good and bad, with like half bad, half good, exactly balanced. And one should always consider that even one good deed could like tip the scale to bring redemption for the entire world. Because it says at the end of the exile, the Jewish people will return to the Creator, and then immediately, instantaneously, they will be redeemed. That's what the Rambam says from the Talmud. So it says, and based on the Torah verses. So the Rambam says that it's like one should always look at oneself as if oneself is always balanced between good and bad, and like one extra good deed could tip oneself to be perfectly righteous, and then that could tip the scale for the whole world to bring redemption to the whole world. So
the whole world is in that precarious balance, and that's why it's the good against the bad and good against the evil, and the good deeds are so important to tip the scale further towards the good tipping. I like that.
Exactly. Yeah. This is one of the foundations of Judaism, the Maimonides. So yeah, and the Lubavitcher Rebbe mentioned it a lot as well when people would ask him about what to do with Mashiach. And I think there's also another verse that says that Sion will be redeemed with judgment, and it's the captives of Zion will be redeemed with tzedakah, which is charity or righteousness. So the point is like to give like charity, like giving like to people in need, like even like one coin to charity, like stuff like that was also part of like the one good deeds, or like giving to charitable organizations that help people. So
right.
That's also
right. Well, sir, you are Osmos.
The screen name is Osmos, which
we'll keep it like that if you want to keep your security and identity. I understand that.
Yeah. I can tell my name sometimes, but you can call me Yaakov if you want.
Yaakov.
Yeah.
Okay. Just call me Shmuel, Samuel, whatever you want to do. I got to go take care of my kids. This sounds ridiculous, but one of the most difficult parts of Aliyah is their cat. And I've been put with the responsibility of making sure that cat gets on El Al with them. And it's been very, very difficult and challenging with the health codes and the Minister of Agriculture in Israel and the Titus tests and the rabies and making sure he has enough antibodies in his blood to fight disease. It's amazing just to get a cat on board.
Sounds catastrophic.
It is catastrophic. But thanks. And on that note, lovely meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Have a very good day. I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, I mean, definitely.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, indeed. Nice having you.
Bye-bye.
Cool. Well, that was a nice conversation. Anyone else in the comments, if they want to join, then you could just press the little button in the bottom left corner, and then you could join, because then we have to have someone to talk to. But basically, we could talk about current events in the meantime until someone joins. So this coming Shabbat, this Friday night and Saturday, is 27th of the month of Av in the Jewish calendar, which is the second to last month of the Jewish year. And after that, coming up is next week, is the month of Elul, the last month of the Jewish year. And it says that everything that happens in the month of Elul sets the stage for the entire year ahead of it. like every day of the month is like corresponds to every day of the month of every month coming up, and also corresponds. You're able to fix every day of the month of Elul. You're able to fix everything that happened during all the days of the month in the past year as well. So the entire month of Elul, it says, is a preparation for the Jewish New Year, which follows immediately afterwards. The Jewish New Year is called the head of the year in Judaism. The New Year is not just the beginning of the year, but it's the head of the year. Just like the head of a person contains within it all of the different limbs of the body. They all exist in the head, within the head, and the head is able to guide them each according to their specific action. So too, the head of the Jewish New Year is the guide for the entire year. Everything that's going to happen throughout the entire year coming up, according to the Jewish year cycle, everything, literally everything, is decided on the Jewish New Year, which is the head that includes within it the entire year. And the way that those things happen in the world is determined on how well the Jewish people pray and serve the Creator during the Rosh Hashanah. And it says, like, for example, all of the money that all people, humans, make throughout that year, regardless of what they had last year. It's not because they have investments, not because they have business. Everything is only determined because of how well the Jewish people pray during the Jewish New Year. That is what sets the stage for all of the money that anyone is going to make that year. It's only that in order to bring the hypothetical blessings that the Jewish people create during the Jewish New Year into the physical world, then people have to have some kind of job. So the job is not a source of money. The source of money is from the Creator himself, and specifically how the Creator decided how much money people should have on the Jewish New Year based on the amount, how the Jewish people pray during the Jewish New Year. So that's the decision for how much money people should make for the entire year. But the actual money itself, in order to get the physical money, it's usually through doing something. Usually, like, someone has to make what's called a vessel. For example, like if you put a cup out in the middle of the rain, it's going to catch the rainwater. Or better example, if you plant a field, sow a field, then the rain could fall. I mean, if the rain falls and there's no field, there's no plants, then it's not going to do anything. So someone has to do their part to, like, sow the field. And then the blessing of the Creator comes, which is like the rain that makes it sprout. But the actual blessing itself is the rain, is the Creator. So the actual money itself that people make is determined by the Creator himself on the Jewish New Year. It's only that in order for people to actually receive that money that the Creator wants them to have, that is through each person making their own vessel to contain that blessing, and that's through the investments and the jobs that people have. But it says that one should not think that the job that they have is the source of the of their income. No, a job is not the source. No one has the ability to decide how much money they make ultimately. So ultimately, the job of the Creator. The only thing people can do is just make a vessel to receive, to do something, some action to receive the blessing of the Creator. But the point is that this coming Shabbos, this coming Saturday and Friday night, is the Shabbos, is the Shabbat before the beginning of the last month of the Jewish year. And this last month in the Jewish year is the preparation for the Jewish New Year's afterwards. Again, the last month of the Jewish year is coming up, the 12th month of Elul. And everything that happened in the past year and everything that happened in the future year ultimately is determined from Elul, because Elul is a preparation for the Jewish New Year, which is the Jewish head of the year for everything. So the point is, this Shabbat is the Shabbat before the beginning of the month of Elul. And in the first day of the month of Elul is also called like the Rosh, the Chodesh, the head of the month that includes within it all of the other days of the month. And it says all of the days of the week are blessed from the Shabbos, from the Sabbath preceding them. Every time there's a Sabbath, it says the spiritual energy for each week gets its spiritual power from the Sabbath before it. So this coming Saturday, this coming Sabbath, gives all of the spiritual power for the beginning of the month of Elul, which is the head of the entire month of Elul, which determines the entire year ahead of it, and also was able to make up for everything in the year before it. And right after the month of Elul, Elul itself blesses Rosh Hashanah. Elul itself is a preparation for the Jewish New Year, and that Jewish New Year is the head for the entire year. So for different reasons, this coming Shabbat has the ability to set the stage for the entire year. One could be literal multi-billionaire just based on how well they serve the Creator. During this coming Shabbat specifically, even, I mean, at all times one could be rich if they serve the Creator, but saying specifically this Shabbat literally sets all of the spiritual energy up for everything that's going to happen in the following year, and it's also able to make up for everything that happened in the year before. And by the way, people who are joining, feel free to come up as a guest, because I'm just looking for stuff to say until people actually join. Because I actually just wanted to talk to people, but talking to myself is good too, but you know, it happens. I'm not sure who is actually listening. That's another issue. But Nabro, every day of the week is okay, just reading the comments. Okay, so basically, what is this month of Elul that's coming up? The last month of the Jewish year. It says that the Hebrew words for the month of Elul is Ani Ladodi Vidodi Li, which is I am for my beloved, and my beloved is for me. And the beloved refers to the Creator. So in the Chabad philosophy teachings, it says that the month of Elul is the Jewish people are connected to the beloved one, to the Creator. Hi, welcome. The Jewish people are connected to the beloved one, to the Creator. Hi, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Excellent, excellent. Nice.
The better.
What was that? What? Well, who are you? What's your name?
You from?
You speak English? Hello? Do you speak English? I guess not. Okay.
Hello.
You do speak English.
Where you from?
Is that English? What was that? I'm not understanding what you're saying, dude. You understand? Okay, I don't know what that was about. I guess we won because the other guy lost. No, we lost. I'm not sure what. I don't know what just happened. There was some kind of match that started, and then it ended. If anyone in the comments knows what happened, then let me know, because I'm not sure what happened. But anyways, so the time of the month of Elul is a time where it says like I am for my beloved and my beloved is to me, which is talking about the Creator. So like each person is like has a special connection to the Creator that's more present in that month than it is throughout the rest of the year. It says what exactly is the month of Elul? Elul, the month of Elul, which is the month right before the Jewish New Year's, which determines the entire year, is a month of mercy. It says that in the Torah, it says Moshe went up on the mountain to get the tablets. First it says he was up there for 40 days and 40 nights. But then, after he came down on after the 40th day, then he saw the Jewish people were worshipping this golden calf idol, and then in order to save the Jewish people, he broke the tablets, because the tablets say do not worship other gods, but then if he broke the tablets, then he's like, oh, it doesn't say it anywhere, so you can't punish them. So the point is, Moshe got the tablets, he broke them, and then afterwards he shattered the golden calf, and he judged the Jewish people, etc. So it was kind of a big deal. The Jewish people worshiped these idols, and then Moshe smashed the tablets. But then he went up a second time to the mountain for another 2 sets of 40 days and 40 nights, back to back. And each of those 40 days and 40 nights, he didn't eat or drink or anything, so he pretty much went for 120 days, almost back to back, without even eating anything. But the point is that during the middle set of 40 days and 40 nights, he was praying for forgiveness for the Jewish people, but the Creator was, so to speak, angry with them still for making the idol. But after the beginning of the third set of 40 days and 40 nights, says that's when the Creator decided to forgive them and then write the new tablets, the second set of tablets that Moshe got later. And when the Creator started this new cycle of the 40 days and 40 nights, it says that was during the month of Elul. So that was the first day of the month of Elul. And then 40 days later, that was the day of Yom Kippur, which is the day that Moshe came back down from the mountain with the second set of tablets. And that was the day of a complete atonement, etc. But that began on the beginning of 40 days earlier, on the first day of Elul. So the month of Elul is from the Torah itself. We see that the month of Elul is a time of extreme mercy, divine mercy. It says the Creator is accessible. The Alter Rebbe, the founder of Chabad Hasidic philosophy, he writes about the month of Elul, and he says that in the month of Elul, the Creator is like a king who is found in a field with the people. Usually, a king is found in his palace, in a secluded room that's totally removed from everyone, and he's only if someone wants to greet the king, they have to go through all kinds of protocols and officers, and the king is very exclusive, not always able to be accessed. But during the month of Elul, it's as if the king of the universe is in the field on his way back to the palace, and as he's traveling back to the palace from a trip, he goes to the field and he greets everyone in the field. All of the people. It says anyone who wants to come and greet the king is able to come and greet the king. And the king greets every person with a smiling face. And it says that is the entire idea of Elul. It's the month of divine mercy, where regardless of what happened beforehand, whatever someone did, one can always approach the Creator of the universe as if he's just in the field, as if the Creator himself is going to the place where people are at their own level, and accepting anyone who wants to greet them with a smiling face, and then they're able to request anything they want from him. And then it says, once they do that during the month of Elul, then when it comes to the Jewish New Year, during Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year, then that's the time when the king goes back to his palace during the New Year. That's when the king is exclusive. But those people who greet the king during the month of Elul, they're able to become like part of the noble officers and part of the choicest people of the nation, and they're able to go into the exclusive room of the king, and they're able to be part of the palace because they greeted him during the month of Elul. So Elul is a very important time. It says regardless of anything that anyone ever did beforehand, it says it's a month of divine mercy, and anyone who wants to greet the king can do so. And this idea was mentioned by the Alter Rebbe, the founder of the Chabad Hasidic movement. And then it wasn't really talked about. Welcome to our new guest. It's loading in. Let's see if it actually loads.
Hey, friend.
Brad Dad. Hi. Nice to meet you. It's good to join now. Let's talk about it.
Thank you.
That's cool. How you doing?
I'm okay.
Nice.
I'm living the fucking dream, man.
Green? Nice. The dream is good. Yeah, I don't think we've ever seen each other before.
No, I don't think we have.
Yeah, I mean, nice to meet you. I'm not sure how long you were here or what you heard or not, but welcome. Either way.
I appreciate it. I think in good faith we can discuss things.
Yeah. Do you have any questions about anything at all?
No, I have lots of respect for the Jewish community. I have lots of, I guess, sticking points, let's say, on, let's say the treatment of Palestinians in Gaza.
Okay, yeah, if you want to talk about it respectfully, I'm willing to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we just talked about this earlier.
As somebody, I'm a Marine. I was, deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan 2 times to both places. And, from my recollection, a lot of what we were doing there seems very similar to what, Israel is doing to Palestine now, in that there is a lot of occupying military force, and there's not a lot of dialogue between civilians and the people who are running the military campaign.
Okay.
Right? And I guess my major criticism is that there's not an actual, we're not trying to get to a ceasefire point. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not trying to be anti-Semitic or anything like that. I'm just saying that, like, I feel for the civilians dealing with the repercussions in Gaza and in Iraq, in Afghanistan, right? Like that's kind of where I'm coming from with it. Is like I want to try and minimize as much as I can, like, the civilian casualties. And how do we get to that point where we're not doing that? How do we get to the point where we're not, like, massacring people?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of different discussions when it comes to it. Some people discuss when this subject is brought up. Sometimes people are discussing everything that happened after October 7th to Gaza. Sometimes people will say, like, oh no, even throughout the entire 75 years, Israel's been doing the same thing. So I think it's important to distinguish, like, what specifically we're talking about.
No, yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. Like, after October 7th, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, they're totally innocent and, like, Hamas has not done anything wrong. Like, I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, like, there's a clear line to, like, a ceasefire, right? And what I want is for the civilians to be protected, and I don't think that's a priority for Israel at the moment.
Okay, so, but to clarify, we're not talking about, like, Israel as an occupying force that people talked about for, like, before October 7th or anything. We're talking about specifically the war in Gaza after October 7th, just to clarify.
Sure. I don't know that I would call it a war, but
Okay.
Sure.
But whatever happened after, say, we're talking now about the stuff that happened after October 7th to Gaza, but we're not talking about Israel as, like, an occupying force since 1948. We're not talking about that. Or are we?
I mean, that's the context that led up to it. Sure. I mean, I don't know if I want to count that out. I guess my main point is that we have to understand the humanity, right? Like, if you're gonna continue to, let's say, right, like, in my experience, like, if we're gonna continue to bomb the Iraqis, and then they, let's say, have a moment where they decide that they don't want to deal with that anymore, it's completely understandable, right? And that was part of, like, the built-in plan. Like, when I went to Iraq or when I went to Afghanistan, was like, hey, yeah, we expect a certain amount of, let's call it, blowback, right? Like the reaction to the military intervention.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not such an expert in the Iraq war, but is it true that there wasn't so much certainty about, like, if they were actually responsible for 9/11, or they were, or not sure?
No, they weren't. No, that was the Saudi Arabians. Like, we know for a fact, and we knew going in, right? I knew going in to Iraq that they didn't do 9/11.
So it was all made up by George Bush, pretty much, like the weapons of mass destruction. I think you made that up. I'm not an expert.
They did not have weapons of mass destruction, and we knew that going in. Again,
Right.
somebody going in, like the way I was briefed, let's say, didn't include weapons of mass destruction. And so what I'm saying is, how do we prioritize the preservation of civilian life while still trying to maintain, let's say, military objectives?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, especially when the enemy is, like, in the civilian areas, and, like, firing weapons in the civilian areas. I mean, what else? I know. I mean, it's a different kind of situation than other conflicts. What do you think?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, it looks just exactly like Vietnam.
I'm not so familiar, kind of before my time. Do you want to elaborate?
Yes, I would love to elaborate. The people who live and exist within Gaza, right, are not terrorists themselves, but every act that you take to, let's say,
Might get banned.
let's say to fight against terrorism, right? You're doing this thing
TikTok has certain rules about
You're creating more and more restrictions. You're doing more and more military actions to again fight against the terrorism of, let's say, the Viet Cong. The Viet Cong are just going to respond in kind, and so I guess my question is, how do we get?
Sorry to meet you, but just 1 second. Sorry, the TikTok has certain rules for certain language that we're not supposed to say. Sometimes they ban people for saying it. So like the word terrorist, it's kind of like a stupid word, it's a stupid rule. But sorry to meet you, but just like I had to because we might get banned if we keep saying it. So whatever. Sorry, you can go on if you want. Yeah, there's like how they have TikTok has certain rules. Like we're not supposed to say BOMB or TRRIORIST. So yeah, so it's kind of a weird rule, but it doesn't really make any sense. So we don't get banned. But anyway, continue.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to get anybody banned. I'm not.
Like weird, it's a really weird rule. But yeah, just get banned.
More my point was like, we're creating more, let's say, people who will rebel against, whatever it is that we're trying to build, by doing this violence. You know what I mean? And can I say violence? Am I allowed to say violence?
Yeah, I know. There's like a few trigger words that they ban people like arbitrarily for saying. But yeah.
Okay. I guess my whole point is that, like, I lived and experienced the whole, all the consequences, let's say, of trying to, I don't know how to say this without,
like this, people say like unaliving, people say boom boom.
Yeah. But like, you know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not, like, I was just there. I wasn't trying to be a part of a certain thing or anything like that. Like, I was just trying to understand and appreciate. Like, I'm not anti anything. Like, but I understand that there's certain security concerns, let's say, but also, how do we reconcile that with the major military offensives that have had major repercussions for civilians? And like, I'm all for like, let's say, destroying certain types of militant people. Is that, am I going to answer that right? Like, I'm not trying to be controversial or whatever.
Fine. Yeah.
But how do we square that with the idea of like a free democracy, a free press, a free, the idea that you can express yourself in a free way, and also, right, because that's what we're trying to build, in Palestine, right? How do we square that with like, certain types of violence are okay, but how do we deal with the other types of like state-sponsored violence, especially like sponsored by the United States? Like, how do we reconcile with that, I guess? Like, I'm not trying to like defend Hamas, because not a big fan, not a fan.
H for whatever reason. It's kind of weird language, I know.
Well, I'm autistic. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to.
Language. Sometimes they ban people just for saying that. I don't know. No, yeah, I understand. So, if I understand you correctly, you're saying that you do not agree with Israel's response to the October 7th attack.
Correct.
Okay. Then I guess there's the $1 million question of what other response would have been justified after the October 7th attack. What could they have done differently?
Yeah, and as somebody who was Force Recon, I gotta say, I wouldn't. I don't know. I wouldn't kill civilians. That's my main that's my main thing. Like, how do we justify the response to that? Like, and again, I was part of the Iraq campaign. I was part of the Afghanistan campaign, and like that, the whole point was to win over the hearts and minds. And so, how are we, I guess, winning over the hearts and minds of the Palestinian people with this kind of action?
Well,
Because that's the goal, no? Right? Like, we want to bring them into the fold, no?
the innocent ones ultimately, yes. But it seems like the alternative to not unaliving civilians for Israel in this case would just be to do nothing, because the vast majority of the actual.
I'm not saying do nothing. I'm saying that, like, is this the appropriate response? Like, it feels hollow to me when, like, politicians are like, oh, well, we had to do something. And it's like, well, sure, I don't disagree with that. But, like, is this the thing that we had to do?
Well, what are the differences between this and the Afghanistan wars? Because we know, what we mentioned earlier, we weren't sure if the Afghans actually had anything to do with 9/11. Like, a lot of people say they didn't have anything to do with it, so we're just going after people that we don't really know. But in this case, Israel is actually going after the group.
No, and see, and that's this is a direct parallel to Afghanistan. Is the terrorist, quote unquote? Sorry, I know we're getting banned or whatever. We can't say the word, the T word. Sorry.
Yeah.
Those people that we were fighting, let's say the Taliban, the T word. How is that different, right? In terms of how the IDF is supposed to respond.
Well, one of the differences is that they're responding to the IDF is responding to a very specific attack by a very specific.
Right, but again, we did that already, right? Like, we responded to specific attacks, and, like, it wasn't, like, on this scale.
Okay. So again, so this goes back to the question of, like, what other kind of response could Israel have given?
To be honest with you, I think a far more diplomatic response is reasonable. I think the idea that we just need to bomb them into submission, need to destroy them into submission, whatever the appropriate TikTok word is for that, isn't effective, because it just creates more, let's say, T words, right? Every T word we killed, we created 2 more T words.
So we go back to what offers were on the table at the time. What were the demands of HQ, and would it have been fair for Israel to just give in to them?
Well, honestly, the offer on the table was far more reasonable than the offer you're receiving at the moment, which was, right, like, a lot of the, let's say, Afghan National Army wasn't interested in American occupation and wasn't interested in receiving American weapons, whereas Israel is obviously entirely funded and controlled by, I wouldn't say controlled, but, like, funded and supplied by the U.S. military-industrial complex, right? And I think that's the major difference, right? Is that the Taliban wasn't getting weapons from the United States government to blow up civilians. And that's, I guess, where the cognitive dissonance comes in for me, right? Like, I am supportive of the state of Israel. I'm not trying to say that Israel doesn't deserve the right to exist or any of that. Like, what I'm saying is that, how are we treating the civilians? Like, that's the difference. That, like, it's a vast difference in terms of how I was taught and how I was told to treat civilians in Iraq and Afghanistan. And the way that we treat civilians in Palestine is vastly different.
Okay. So to go back to the question, so So you're saying the alternative to the response that they're doing now, where they're taking out like the military targets, which are in civilian areas. So you're saying instead of doing that, Israel should have taken whatever the demands HQ was asking for. What were those demands? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, they wanted their hostages back, obviously, and they wanted certain military controls in certain areas, and like
Oh, you cut out for a second. Maybe it's a sign. Yeah, you cut out for a second. I didn't hear the last thing.
I'm sorry. Did I cut out? I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. No, it's the last like 3 seconds. I didn't hear what you said.
No, it is a different okay, I guess the entire goal, right, is to preserve civilian life, right? Like that was our goal with the negotiations with the Taliban, right? Was hey, we don't need to hit certain civilian targets and all that stuff, and we can negotiate like, hey, if we're going to do fighting, we're going to do fighting in this area, right? And that was kind of the end of it, right? Like we just kind of agreed, like on a certain level, that there was going to be battle done on in and around this area and in and around these certain civilian areas, but it wasn't ever about targeting civilian areas. And again, as somebody who's been in like a war zone, like I've seen when we target civilian people, like I was in Libya when they overthrew Gaddafi, right? Like this feels like that.
Okay, I mean, but this is a different kind of conflict, I think, because they launched actual rockets like from actual preschools,
right? But they have the Iron Dome. They're protected by the United States military. They don't have like Gaddafi wasn't protected in the same way as right, like or Iraq wasn't protected in the same way, or Afghanistan wasn't protected in the same way. And that's kind of why, I guess, that's where my line of questioning is like, why are we treating this differently, despite there not being any, let's say, major resources in the area that we can mine?
So I'm saying that Israel should have just let the rockets be fired at it because they have the Iron Dome, so they can deflect them. But the fact that the other people are firing rockets, they should just let it happen.
Well, but why are they firing rockets?
Well, that's a separate issue. I mean, we could discuss
No, it's not, though, right? Like, it's the same issue. It's the same fight. It's the same argument. And again, I'm not trying to say that Israel doesn't have a right to exist. I'm saying that Israel should exist. It should exist peacefully.
Yeah, I'm saying the rockets were being launched before October 7th as well.
Sure, but again, if you're oppressing an entire people for generations, like, how is that different from what we're doing in Iraq or Afghanistan?
Well, this is in the beginning we were trying to clarify, like, if we're talking about after October 7th, but what oppression was Israel doing before October 7th?
I mean, they were settling areas in which they didn't have any business being in, right? Like they violated UN treaties, they violated international law by settling in certain areas, right?
Which areas were those?
I mean, the Gaza Strip for one.
When was that?
When? I mean, basically all of the history. I mean, again, I'm not trying to be contrarian, man. I'm not trying to like argue with you on this, but like, come on, you got to acknowledge that like most of what the most recent history of Israel is doing is a settler colonial thing, and that like that's again as a settler colonial myself, right? Like I'm an American. I'm over 90% British. Like we're doing the same thing here. Like that's what I'm saying is that it's not any different than what the British did in the United States of America.
I hear it. It was like a little great to new guest. Hi, welcome, Daniel. Nice to have you.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Yo, you speak English?
Yeah, I speak.
Cool.
English, right?
Here I understand. I can't really understand you.
And it's like, I don't know. I think a lot of the sentiment that I get from my Israeli friends and other people within my community are like, oh, well, if we're not going to do it, then somebody else will do it. And it's like, I don't know that I agree with that. Like, if nobody's going to, let's say, settle and or colonize this area, like, somebody else is going to do it. And I don't know that I agree with that. And I guess that's my main sort of sticking point with it. Again, I'm not trying to say Israel shouldn't exist. I'm just trying to say that Israel should be, like, you know, its own, like, religious, like, state. And it should have protections. But, like, why are we fighting people who don't have an army?
Well, it seems like we're talking about different subjects. One is Israel living in the land of Israel, which is a discussion: is it occupying? Is it not occupying?
No, it's the same. It's the same subject, right? Because the British created the state of Israel, right? And those are my people. And again, I'm not necessarily proud to be British, but here I am being British and inserting myself in business that necessarily probably doesn't involve me. But that's what the British do historically, and so here I am.
Yeah. So,
Right, like when they drew the line that created Syria and Palestine.
the Balfour Declaration.
Yeah.
Yeah, was that a problem?
No, what I'm saying is that it was entirely a British contrivance, right? Like, that's what I'm telling you. Like, that's my whole point, is that it's not necessarily a bad thing, but that is a thing that was just arbitrarily decided by Western people in a Middle Eastern country. Like, right? Like, basically all of Africa and the Middle East was carved up by my ancestors. And I want to, let's say, have a conversation. Let's say, like, you know, like, the conversations like this are important. Because how can we, let's say, understand the mistakes of the past and also have that understanding going into the future without reconciling with this moment? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, is that fair?
Yeah.
And so, again, I don't think that Israel doesn't deserve to exist. What I'm saying is that I think there's a more peaceful way to go about what we're doing.
What are we doing?
We're settling the Middle East.
Who's we?
Europeans.
European. Okay, so you're saying this goes back to Britain with the Balfour Declaration?
I'm saying it goes to, I mean, all of Israeli history, right? It's like the majority of the people that settled there are of European descent. No,
I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe.
yes, they are. But, well, they're not allowed to check their ancestry, but yes, they are of European ancestry. They're not allowed to check because they're not from the Middle East. They are from Poland. They are from Eastern Europe, and that's fine. I'm not against it. What I'm telling you is that we have to have a peaceful way to, let's say, arbitrate these issues.
Okay. What are you referring? What issues are you referring to? The Balfour Declaration?
What issues? Where the Israelis are constantly trying to expand, right? Their settlements in the West Bank, all the settlements, really. I mean, genuinely. Like, again, I'm not trying to say Israel doesn't deserve a right to exist. I'm just saying that it's controversial and it's more difficult than it should be.
So which part is controversial? Is my question.
Well, part of it is controversial.
That's what I'm wondering.
I mean, settling Europeans in the Middle East, that's controversial. Like, that was controversial to the people at the time. That's controversial to now. right? Like it's controversial now.
So you're saying the Balfour Declaration, is that what so the other, or what other specifically? Just the fact that Europeans are in the Middle East at all, that shouldn't happen?
Again, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's got to be a more peaceful way to do this.
Well, what other way should have been? What do you mean? Like, what specifically are you? I'm confused. Like, what?
First of all, I'd like to see more community organizing. I'd like to see more people who are genuinely invested in creating a state that involves both Jews and Palestinians.
In what context, though? Like, when?
In the context of Palestine. What do you mean?
I guess he got disconnected. Yeah. I'm not sure if you can still hear me, but you're not connected anymore. Anyone else want to join in the meantime?
What do you mean?
Oh, here.
No,
Here.
there are Palestinians that have lived in Palestine for thousands of years, and then there are all of a sudden European Jews who want to come back and live in their homeland, and they should absolutely have that right. But like, we got to do it peacefully. I don't know why we can't do this peacefully.
I mean, from my understanding, there's been maybe like 8 peace treaties that would have given like the Palestinian people most of the land, but all of those treaties were like denied. So it's like the peaceful way has been, tried, in my opinion.
Oh,
what do you think?
Word? Has it?
I don't know. Has it?
I mean, it hasn't worked, but it's been tried.
Has it?
Yeah.
Well, what about the Balfour Declaration? Wasn't the Balfour Declaration like it was supposed to be dividing up the land so they get?
Who's the aggressor in all of this?
I thought the Arabs were the aggressor.
Well, because the Palestinians don't have a state.
Yeah, but I think the Arab nations around them, I think they were the aggressor. What do you think?
Sure. I wouldn't disagree with that. But also, like, the people themselves don't really have a voice. Like, they don't have a choice in this whole conflict, right? Like, the actual Palestinian people themselves do not have a choice in whether or not Egypt or fucking Bahrain or Iraq or Iran or whatever Muslim country wants to involve themselves in this conflict. Like, they don't have a choice in that. That's not their decision.
So what are you proposing?
What I'm proposing is that, hey, we stop shooting people.
Who stopped? Who stopped?
As a person who's actually shot people and been shot at, I don't like shooting people. I don't like being shot at. I don't think that it's a fair way to decide things.
Okay.
And again, as somebody who's been forced by American imperialism to decide other countries' fate for them, it feels a little weird that we're having this conversation. Like the Palestinian people, I feel most of them, again, we're not talking about Hamas because Hamas should be destroyed. I think we can all agree on that, right?
Okay.
Like,
everyone agrees on that.
all agree that Hamas should be destroyed. Like, that's not what I'm talking about here. But like, the actual people don't have a say in that, right? Like, their will has just been kind of assumed by like the actions of Hamas.
Age group. Yeah.
Am I wrong?
I don't know. Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe half and half. I don't know. It's hard to say. Honestly, I don't know.
I know. I mean, again, it's a complicated situation. I'm not trying to be like it's black and white. What I'm proposing is that, hey, maybe we don't fight because fighting is bad.
Right.
Ask me how I know fighting is bad.
Okay. Well, I agree fighting is bad. So, I mean, I can ask you because you want me to ask you. Why is fighting bad?
Because it destroys entire communities. It destroys the human mind. It literally renders you useless.
Yeah, I agree fighting is bad. But the question is, who puts down the weapons first?
Well, I think the country that is backed and armed by the largest military in the world probably should put down their weapons first.
What would happen to it if it did that?
Gonna get attacked.
Oh, really? You think so?
Yeah, that's what we observed like for years now.
Is that how it worked in Iraq?
But we speaking about Palestine and Israel.
Yeah, bro, and that's what I'm telling you. Is I'm speaking from experience. Is that's not how it worked in Iraq. If you want to change things, you have to change the way that you do things.
I mean, Israel has to keep its guard up to pretty much like. What do you do about the radicalism, like inside?
What do you do about that? Oh man, if only there was like an educational response. Oh wait, oh man, there is. If only you could just teach people that there's a different alternative.
I believe the only thing you really can do so far is keep your guard up, like keep your guns up.
That's just nonsense, dude. Like
you got to protect yourself and your citizens.
I'm sorry. How many war zones have you been in?
I haven't been in any.
Oh, cool. All right, cool, great. That's a 0 point for what you're saying, and several points for what I'm saying.
I don't think my experience.
I've literally been in the place where when Afghanistan collapsed, right? When we withdrew, I was fucking there. When we fought and we took Fallujah in Iraq, I was fucking there. So I don't want to hear about, oh, well, we can't do peaceful solutions. We can't talk about that because, you know what, we've had these conversations with the Taliban. We've had these conversations with fucking, ISIS and all these other groups that exist within the Middle East. Like, we've had peaceful negotiations with these people. It seems ridiculous to me that we can't have a peaceful solution. In fact, that's
great to know, guys. Welcome. You there? I guess not. Okay, yeah. What was it?
Netanyahu doesn't want to agree to the ceasefire.
Well, okay.
And you understand this from what source? Let's talk about war zones.
Yeah, let's talk about it, bruv. Have you been to Afghanistan? Have you been to Iraq?
Sorry to meet you guys, but just to make sure to keep it like respectful. I know it's hard to with these ideas. Sometimes we want to go to personal attacks. I just want to keep everything respectful. Make sure we don't like attack each other personally in the conversation. Sorry, continue if you want, but just make sure try not to insult each other on the line. Yeah,
of course. Let's talk about war zones. I'm a former Israeli soldier. I served 3.5 years
You're a war criminal.
Well, there you go. Artemis, this
hey, me too, just, man. Hey, I'm an American Marine. I'm a war criminal too. I'm part of that club.
We're not war criminals. There's a big difference.
You are, and I am too, and that's okay.
On October the 6th, we had a very clear peace process with those in Gaza. Every single day they were coming into work.
They had the
Let me finish before you interrupt. We get your point. We understand.
No, you don't.
You have a voice.
You're not acknowledging that they knew.
But no, I'm not acknowledging because I'm trying to get my point. I'm trying to get my point across calmly. Now listen to me. On October the 6th, we had a peace process. We had a peaceful time. The Gazans were coming in by the thousands to work in the state of Israel, in the kibbutzim, of which they attacked on October the 7th. What are we supposed to do? Why? Why do you think?
Well, no. Why do you think?
So every single time.
No. You can't just be like, oh no. Why do you think? Why do you think?
We in 2005 had the Gaza disengagement. We basically had to exhume our unalived. We took them to quote unquote into Israel proper. We removed every single citizen by force because I was there and I watched it. Let me speak and stop interrupting. You sound to me like I don't even believe that you were in the U.S. Army. What was your MOS?
I was.
What was your MOS?
I was 4421. I'm a fucking Marine. How dare you?
I'm a Marine.
Because I'm a fucking goddamn...
חבר שלי, אין לי מה להגיד לבן אדם הזה באמת, הוא דפוק לגמרי, אין על מה לדבר. אתה מבין אותי עצמוס, נכון?
That's interesting. Yeah. You know what's interesting about that is I don't care about that because I'm an American and I don't have to. And you know what's cool about being an American is that we get to just decide for other countries, including Israel.
That's
Well,
horrible.
that's where you're mistaken.
Nah. No,
You
you're
do
not
not.
wrong.
You will
You're
not
wrong about
dictate.
that because Israel
No,
kind of
no.
decides for us, right?
Well, no. We've got no. We've got no interest in you know, America and Israel have a very
You know
clear
what?
alliance.
What is Netanyahu's original last name?
Oh, here we go. Now we're talking about blood libel. It doesn't matter. He is an
Well,
Israeli. He is a Judean. Just like I'm a Judean, it doesn't matter if you're, you know, if your grandparents are European.
It kind of
So you're
matters,
nothing.
right? Because he was
So,
like born in
so,
Ohio,
so
and Ohio
your
fucking sucks.
problem. So your problem is this isn't an Israel-Palestine issue. This is an issue that you're basically an anti-Semite and
No,
you're
I'm
just
not an
fighting
anti-Semite.
Jihad.
No.
Well, the
I have
fact
lots
is,
of Jewish
if you
friends.
weren't, you would not be bringing up Netanyahu's original name.
That's
Because
nonsense.
it doesn't
That's
make
nonsense.
a
You
difference.
can't call me an anti-Semite just because I have criticism.
Well, why?
of
Because you're
Netanyahu.
questioning
He's
Netanyahu's
an
original
American.
name?
He's not an Israeli. He's from
Not an
Ohio.
American. No, he was born in the state of Israel. He actually moved with his family to America when his father, who was a historian, had a
Again,
job. He
he's
was on
from
secondment.
Ohio, but all right.
Why don't you actually read a book and read his biography? And then you'll realize that you're just
How do you
completely
have
an
an
arse of
Irish
yourself.
accent? That's crazy to me. That you have
Well,
an Irish accent and you sound like
number one, I'm
that's-
Scottish. Number one, I'm Scottish, but I'm also Israeli. So you know how things work, and you'll find that in America as well, is that there are many people that live in America that come from other countries.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
didn't
I
know
don't know
that.
if you're aware of that.
Oh no, it's crazy. That's the first time that's been
Yeah.
presented to me. It's
Keep it-
almost like
So let's try to keep it like less personal if we can. I know it's hard with the discussions. And
Yeah, well, I mean, the guy's he's just an anti-Semite. You made that very clear. He has to. He made very clearly the point that first of all, misinformation. Bibi Netanyahu was born in Israel, grew up, spent many years in America, came back to Israel, went back to America to finish his degree. He's Israeli, and I don't really understand what his point was. But anyway, I thought I would just come in anyway. Atmos, and you know that looks almost like the name of the group that is the Argentinian with the Chabadnik, who's the lead singer. Atmos.
oh, because that is.
Atmos.
I think I heard about the band like that. I'm not sure the details. They spell it differently though, right? ATZ.
Yeah, that's correct. And he's so they're kind of like a secular band, but the lead singer is a Chabadnik.
That's cool. That's cool.
It's fantastic. Anyway, I don't think I can discuss any more with this guy, but I just want to wish you a good Shabbos.
Thank you. Good Shabbos and happy Elul coming up.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Rosh Hashanah in a month or so, so that's good.
Someone mentioned that with regards to the Sephardim that actually start doing slichot from the beginning of the month of Elul, and the Elul is the Rishei Tevot for Anili V'Dodili.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, whereas we don't start doing slichot, I think, until we start 30th of September.
It varies
The
by
month before.
depending on when Rosh Hashanah is, but yeah, somewhere around the last week before Rosh Hashanah, or I think, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
fantastic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the whole idea of Ani Ladodi V'Dili, I am to my beloved is to me in Elul. Yeah, it's a big concept.
Yeah. I saw your videos. You were, I think there was one recent video you were in 770.
Yeah, probably a lot of them.
Yeah. Because I grew up in a Chabad house. I won't get into too fine a detail. We can speak offline. But I grew up in a Chabad house in LA. All my family are. I kind of moved away from the Chabad movement, but I still have an involvement here in the UK. We have some fantastic, Chabad houses.
That's nice. Yeah, I went to yeshiva in Los Angeles, West Hollywood area. So that's cool.
By any chance? Okay, yeah. I think. Well, if it's West Hollywood, not far from Melrose Avenue.
Yes, right across the street from Melrose Avenue.
Yeah, Oro Elchonan.
Elchanan Chabad, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to go there and daven when I lived in LA. At the time, the Rosh Yeshiva was Rabbi Shoichet.
Yes, he still is, and he was when I was there also.
Oh my goodness! I used to study. Well, now I'm 55, so my chavrusa was a guy by the name of Velvo Farkash.
Farkash. I know the last. Well, who's? I know the Farkash is Amram. I know Amram Farkash.
Yeah, and Velvet was slightly older than me by a number of years, so he should maybe 56, 57 now. But he was a bocher in the yeshiva. But yeah, I used to go there because my uncle would daven there, and at the time there was Rabbi Citron, Rabbi
Yes,
Arnold.
he was there when I was there also. Yes.
Yeah,
They've been-
fantastic. Well, it's a small world, but I lived in Poinsettia.
That's cool. Yeah, I lived in the community after yeshiva also for a little while, and I used to daven there. Yeah, Rabbi Stitchin was one of my main rabbis when I was first started out, and also I talked to the Rosh about different things just here and there. So yeah, they've been there since the big 70s. I think they've been there since day one. So it's pretty.
Yeah. Well, it won't be. Yeah. Well, when I left for Israel in 1988. From LA to Israel to study in yeshiva initially, but it didn't work out for me at the time. I wasn't ready.
Minot? Yeshiva Minot?
I'm sorry?
Which yeshiva in Israel? Was it Minot or a different one?
No. I mean, my aunt and uncle, my family understood that probably it would have been far too much of a it would have been a more difficult curriculum for me. So it was all Sameach.
Oh, cool. I've heard of that.
Because they thought it would pretty much me an easier level, but it really wasn't for me. But I'm sure you probably know members of my family and lots of people in there. I used to love Kabbalat Shabbat, Kabbalah Shabbos, going there to the yeshiva and listen to the Bochum singing Lechuna Ranana.
Yes, and Lachadodi, and yeah, those are really good.
Yeah,
that was one of the books.
Yeah, it was fantastic. But I used to kind of stiebel hop because I didn't always go with my uncle. I know my uncle, my cousins would go there on Shabbos, but at the time also on Melrose Avenue, at the end of our street, not far from Poinsettia, there was a Sephardi show, which I believe no longer exists anymore. It was a small Sephardi show, a mix of.
Interesting. Well, on La Brea or on Melrose?
No, it was on Melrose.
Interesting. Well, this guy in the comments, I didn't cut him. I didn't kick him off. He just got disconnected. He couldn't come back if you want to have a nice discussion. The rad dad in the comments. Yeah, I don't know what happened. He just got disconnected. Anyway, yeah, I mean, it's interesting yeshiva. Yeah, I mean, it's really good yeshiva. I went there for 3 years as a student, and I lived in the community for a little while. And
that's amazing.
So yeah, Amram Farkash. I think he might be a brother of Velvel Farkash. I'm not so familiar, but he's he ran the Masivta, the high school, for a long time, and then recently when I came there, he started running everything, like second in command, so to speak, to the Rosh. So he's running both the Zal, the college level, and the high school level. I think that's the brother of Velvel Farkash, but I'm not entirely sure. His son,
likely, yeah, because Velvel lives in New York now. He's in the community doing a lot of work.
And so the son of Amram Farkash, Menachem Farkash, was my classmate, actually. And he recently got married a few years ago. So that was cool.
That is amazing. Yeah, obviously it's a small world. I loved LA. So I used to shriba hop. So sometimes, I would go to Shari Tefillah, which I believe now, Shari Tefillah, am I right in saying someone told me that Chabad took that shul over?
Steve, which one was it?
Shari Tefillah. Shari Tefillah is on Beverly Boulevard at the end of at the very end of Poinsettia.
Yeah, is that after like Levi Yitzchak Shul? The Levi Yitzchak Shul is near there, like right after there. I think it's like one door down. Maybe not.
It could be because I just remember walking from our house all the way down. When you walk down from Poinsettia down towards where Poinsettia meets Beverly Boulevard, right on the corner, on the left-hand side, there was a show that was Rabbi Hutler, and that was called Sha'arei Tefillah.
Yeah, I think that's on the Brea. I used to go they have like a Chabad house kind of style. Like, I don't know if it's called Levi Yitzchak, and that's like the Chabad. It's like I don't know if it's the Chabad of Hollywood or
Like
Yeah.
besides the yeshiva, it's like the main place that the community members, the adults mainly, would go. And I think Shari Tefillah is one door down. I think 1 or 2 doors down.
That's also likely. And also, I used to daven by Etz Jacob because I was at the time in NCSY, and they had a branch of NCSY that came out of Etz Jacob, Etz Yaakov, and that's Rabbi Cutler, Rabbi Reuven Hutler.
I think I've heard that's also on the Bria. I think I've seen that.
And that's Beverly Boulevard, very close to facing CBS and Farmers Market. So it's further down, going towards Fairfax.
Yeah, I've been up and down that whole block a bunch of times. So I've probably seen it.
Yeah, of course. Well, I haven't been there for many years, but wow, that's fantastic. But I love seeing 770. So I thought I'd come in and say hi.
Yeah, you know. So yeah, it's good.
Hi, Mr. Cohen, Mashlumcha.
Hi.
There's a Shari Tefillah in Tel Aviv. Nachon, yeah, but it's a very famous. It's a very common name for shuls. But the Chabad Yeshiva there was
That's really good. Rosh is a key person.
I remember Rabbi Shoch coming up and putting his knee on the back of my leg to weaken the back of my leg because I was looking up at the mechitza, because in the base medrash.
Yeah,
as I remember it, and up at the top on the left hand side at the top was where the women's section.
Yeah,
and I think I wasn't concentrating on davening, and I just remember there's someone coming up and kind of like feeling this knee or this patch or something on me, just to get me focusing back on davening.
that's fun. That sounds like something you would do. But you weren't even a student though, so I mean.
No, I wasn't, but I was because he knew my my uncle very, very well. Because my uncle used to sometimes be the Balt filler, but he since passed away. He was kind of known. He was quite famous within the community because he was Scottish, and he was a Chabadnik. I know everyone kind of knew him from the. I don't know, but I'll message you his name rather than it might ring a bell, because you may know my older cousin.
Yeah, maybe I know some of your family members. Who knows?
But we used to always go Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur to Simcha Monica to the Levitansky Mishpachat, the Levitanskys.
I've heard of them. I'm not sure if I met them. I might have met them once or twice. I don't know them so well.
Yeah.
I definitely know of them. But
I was a counselor in Camp Gan Yisrael.
Oh yeah.
For 2 summers in Simcha Monica, as we call it, not Santa Monica.
Yeah.
As they like to call it. But yeah, we used to go there quite a lot.
Big summer. The main Chabad house I grew up like not knowing anything about the Torah, but then the main Chabad house my family met was the one in Simcha Barbara. You know that one?
I don't know.
Yeah. So it's like Simcha Barbara is, I think, UCSB, not at UCSB, but at the same city. And the Loshak family, and the Kudan, they were very nice. They brought me into it. So yeah, I mean that's how I got into Judaism first. Hi, welcome.
Oh, he brought a Palestinian up. You better run.
Oh, Yado, I'm gonna run, definitely.
Start running. Hamas is here.
Yado, really, kifalak, kachi.
Okay, I know that.
Disappeared.
I know.
Yeah, I know, Mr. Cohen. Well, listen,
yeah.
I'm gonna go off and start doing a couple of things before Shabbat comes in here, because it's here we're at 12:36 in the afternoon. Mr. Cohen shaking in his boots.
Yeah, nice.
But it was good to talk to you. And,
yeah, we'll stay in touch. Hopefully, maybe I know some of your family. Maybe.
Oh, I think you will. Hi, Nini. Shalom lach. מקווה שהכל בסדר. וגם שבת שלום לך.
Shalom.
Yeah, I normally I normally stay off the internet on Shabbat, and then when October the 7th happened, then I found myself on all the time on Shabbat, wanted to hear the news and everything, but I've recently gone back to now taking myself off altogether.
That's good. That's the best way to combat it, is just through the mitzvahs, eventually people will just realize the truth. I mean, this whole thing is just total based on lies. I mean, once people realize the truth, they'll just realize, they'll realize eventually. It'll just take time.
No, I understand. But there's a message there. There's a reason why we have Shabbat, even more so now, is, I will sing at the table, sing the Zemiras. Is that that there is a reason why we must keep Shabbat, and there's also to have the psychological break from what we expose ourselves to every single day of the week on this app. If you're on this app constantly, as I am, you really need to have that break to switch off. And that's why Shabbat is there, not only because it's a mitzvah, but also to kind of cleanse your brain and take a rest and think of other things that are just not centered around social media and everything else.
Yeah, and then when we keep the mitzvahs, then it's like there's sometimes other benefits that we don't even think about that just happen. So yeah, definitely. Hi, welcome, Jay the Jew. New guest.
Welcome. How everybody doing this morning?
Everything is good. Well, I'm sorry, Jay the Jew. I'm going to drop in the meantime, but we'll be in contact. But Kol Tov, wish you a good Shabbos.
You too.
And take care, everyone. Mr. Cohen, Shabbat Shalom Lecha. בטח אנחנו נדבר בקרוב, אולי יותר מאוחר ביום. Okay, bye.
See ya. Nice to meet you, or see you.
So
now we get to Daniel and Jay. What's up?
not much. So interesting. So what's your topic, if you have one?
That's a good question. We're kind of just doing anything people want to talk about.
Oh, okay. Well, you familiar with you familiar with prophecy in the Bible?
Some of the prophecies, yeah.
So, what makes you an Israelite?
What is an Israelite, first of all?
A descendant of Jacob. That's what I was asking you. That's
Okay.
what makes you an Israelite, as far as I know. You know what I'm saying? Descendant of the 12 tribes.
Well, Judaism. When we talk about Judaism, someone is Jewish, also usually associated with being part of the children of Israel. But what does it mean to be Jewish? Jewish is either if someone's mother is Jewish, or if one converted to Judaism according to Torah law, then they gained a new Jewish soul, and then they're Jewish even if they don't have any Jewish DNA or any other ancestors who are Jewish. If they convert according to the Torah Talmudic law, then they become 100% Jewish miraculously because they gain a new Jewish soul. And all the Jews are actually converts. At Mount Sinai, the Jewish people who are usually descended from Jacob, they gathered around Mount Sinai in the Sinai desert, and the Creator himself came down from the heavens to this universe, and he implanted the essence of the Creator into all of the Jews forever. And it says the souls of all the future converts were also at Mount Sinai, and the Creator implanted himself within the Jews forever. So that Jewish soul, every Jew means, someone who's Jewish means they have a Jewish soul. The way to get a Jewish soul is either if someone's mother is Jewish, or if they follow the Talmudic law conversion process, where they dip in a body of water with a group of 3 judges while accepting upon themselves the commandments.
Like Herod?
Like what?
Like Herod?
Herod? I'm not sure if he converted. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert.
I'm pretty sure he did.
All right, maybe he did. Okay.
But Herod was when you look up Herod, he was a Agragite.
Yeah,
right?
so you can convert any nationality. Someone's like Japanese, Chinese, they could convert to Judaism, and then they're 100% Jewish. And if it's a woman who converts, then all of
the funny thing is about that?
Right.
You know what the funny thing is about what you're saying?
I do not. But
I've never seen that done in the face of that. I don't even. I've read it. I've read it in the Bible. Now the second part of what you're talking about, I've read the conversions. I've seen forced conversions. I've seen people just willingly go, live among the Israelites, and because when you live amongst them, you have to take on their ways and convert and different things like that. I've never seen someone, or I never read in a law where it says your mom, you know, it go through your mom. I read in Numbers 118 where it say the pedigree go through your father. If you can show me a Bible verse where it say mother, then, you know, but I'm pretty shaky on that first one. But I've read them converting to being. I read them converting to Judaism, but that doesn't make you a Jew. That just make you a convert.
No, so according to Judaism, a convert is 100% Jewish in the same way that anyone else is Jewish. And the law of the mother is in the Talmud, which we believe was also given by the Creator himself to Moshe at Mount Sinai at the same time as written Torah.
So now at Mount Sinai, you know that was nothing but who? It was a mixed multitude that with Israel, right? But
some Egyptians that came with Israel as well, yes.
But the law was given to who though? When that came down on Mount Sinai, that wasn't for everybody.
That's correct. Whatever.
That was only for Israel. Look, the mixed multitude, even if they wanted to join themselves to Israel, it wasn't making them Israel. It wasn't calling them Israel. Even the ones who wanted to do what Moses said do, they still wasn't being referred to as Israelites. They was calling them strangers.
Okay.
So the thing is, this is my thing, right? The Israelites, they not who they saying they are, like, for real. What would you say about that? If you've been taught, what if you've been taught you somebody you not, look, and then I've been taught somebody I'm not, look, what if who you pretending to be, I really am? And then who you are, that you gotta find that out. But it's a major identity crisis that's going on right now, right? And the prophecy said, according to the Bible, that was gonna happen in the last days, where the people who was claiming to be Jews, right? The real Jews in the last days was gonna wake up, because you know the real Jews are dark skinned. Moses, all them, you know the real Jews are dark. The biblical Jews. My question to you, if you're a Jew, how did you leave one color and come back another color? Just honestly, how could that happen?
So again, Judaism is not based on DNA or ancestry only, because if someone converts, then even if they're Japanese, Black, Chinese, they're 100% Jewish. I've seen people who are Chinese, completely Chinese, thousands of years back, and when they convert, 100% Jewish, completely.
I read about Ruth. I give you that. I can read instances, but at the end of the day, Ruth was a Moabite. Even though she converted over to Judaism, they looked at Ruth as one of their own because she keeping their laws, statutes, commandments. But at the end of the day, her nationality never changed, my brother.
Yeah, Judaism is not a nationality. Judaism is its own category.
That's what I mean, though. That's a new thing on the face of the earth. No one can just change nationalities in the middle of the night. Like, I can't wake up tomorrow and be like, oh, I'm Chinese. Why y'all get to do something nobody on the face of the earth get to do?
Well, Judaism has never been a nationality, and has never claimed to be a nationality. It's also not a religion, strictly speaking, because it can be inherited by the mother. It's its own category of existence that resembles nationality in some way and resembles religions. It's not a nationality, it's not a race, it's not an ethnicity. It's its own category. It's someone who has a Jewish soul. In order to have a Jewish soul, either their mother has to have the Jewish soul, or they go through a certain ritual to get the Jewish soul. That's what being Jewish means.
Sir, I'm going to tell you for real, I'm going to tell you truthfully and honestly, right? The Israelites today are the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, descendants of the slave. Everything being lined up, prophecy being worked all the way out, just how it's supposed to, right? See, my thing to you is, right, my nationality was taken away from me and given it to another people, and so they call themselves Jews, but they're not, right? And we can easily understand who is a Jew and who is not by the laws that they keep. Okay, so if you're a Jew, what tribe are you from?
So all the Jews nowadays are either from the tribe of Judah or the tribe of Benjamin, but we don't know, or from the tribe of Levi, but we don't know exactly until Mashiach comes. Then Mashiach, the Messiah, is going to tell the Jews what tribe they're from because
Okay, that's kind of, okay, so like I said, which tribe are you from then?
I don't know because they've been lost, either Judah or Benjamin, but we don't know until the Messiah comes. The Messiah will going to tell us what tribe.
Again, my thing is, right? Those biblical Jews right there from Benjamin in Judea and from the Levitical priesthood, they were black people. The Bible say that. Jeremiah 14:2, Wisdom of Solomon 1:5, Lamentations 4:8, Lamentations 5:10, Job 30:30. Christ himself was a black. So I'm trying to figure out what happened, where you come in, like when did the skin color change? Like the Jews, we know the Jews are descendants of the slave trade. They was in the sub-Saharan slave trade. They were in the they was in the sub-Saharan and they was in the transatlantic slave trade, right? Where did you get dropped off at in that slave trade? Where did your parents get docked at? See, because the Spirit bear witness with our spirit that we are the children of God, right? The Israelites are descendants of the slave trade. Remember, who's going to go into captivity by way of ship, right? And your homeland, you was never. If you the real Israelites, then all 12 tribes supposed to be in Israel. According to y'all, according to them Targums, all 12 tribes right now supposed to be in Israel.
Right now?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know.
Because the temple getting built over there, right?
Not now, no, it's not being built.
But they paving the ground for it, correct?
I don't think so. If they are, then they shouldn't be doing that.
Exactly, but they are. And that's what I'm saying. So what isn't that the Antichrist right now going on? Because that's going to get built when Christ come back.
Well, Judaism does not believe in that person at all.
See, that's what I mean, bro. That's exactly what I mean, bro. How can you not believe in the Messiah and the whole Bible is written of him?
We don't believe that he was the Messiah.
So who the Messiah is what? The Messiah means what?
The anointed one.
Exactly. So if he wasn't the anointed one, who was?
No one was yet, but he's going to come in the future time, hopefully now.
But he was anointed in Daniel 7. When he gave him a kingdom.
The Messiah. Anointed means they have oil smeared on their head to be a king. It's possible for someone to become anointed, but that doesn't mean that they're the anointed one. The Messiah is a very
was this Christ anointed?
I mean, people can be anointed, but the Messiah is a very specific definition of a redeemer who is a king.
That's what I'm looking for. That's the word I was looking for, redeemer.
Yeah.
Who is that? No. Salvation is only coming through one name, and that's Christ.
Well, we don't believe that in Judaism.
So who is then? If y'all don't believe Christ the Redeemer, who is?
We don't know who he is until he comes, but he's going to come in the future too.
But guess what? The Bible tell us, right? The Bible tell us every eye shall see him. Revelation 1:7. See, that's why what about Revelation? You got a Bible right now?
No, we don't believe in Revelations. That's also Christian.
Exactly, but that's who John walked with. Christ walked with John, though.
We don't accept that source, though.
But that's who wrote Revelation, though.
Accept it.
Right? That's exactly.
We don't believe that.
Oh, really? So, like I said, a lot of the high holy days y'all keep, right? It's not even. It don't even line up with the Bible. Thus says the Lord. Do y'all keep Purim? Do you keep Purim? Like, look, I'm a Jew, right? I'm a Jew. I'm what a Jew look like in real time, right? You're Jewish, right? What's the difference between me and you, right? The difference between me and you, right?
All right, 1 second. Hi, welcome our new guest. We'll get you in a second. Yeah, what's up? We'll let's finish up real quick, and then I want to get to the new guest, and I'll get back to you. Yeah, what's up, Jay? Go on.
So the difference between me and you, right? You have to understand, right? I'm asking you, how did you all? I've asked a few questions that you really not able to answer, right? Because you understand that the gig is up, right?
The gig?
Yeah, the gig is up, right? People understand that people are waking up and taking their nationality, right? And proclaiming it, right? That's why you see these Israelites out here now on the street corners, right? Raising their people up. Why I don't never see y'all out there raising y'all people up? If it's in the last days, why I don't never see, the Jewish people out there in the street raising the people up, how the Bible say to go out on the highways and compel your people to come in. Why don't they do that?
Well, that verse is not accepted by Judaism, but Chabad does go out in the street and ask Jews to put on tefillin and ask Jews to like do different things, but that's a separate discussion.
So in Revelation 2,
we don't believe in that. That's not a Jewish source.
Okay, so now you believe in the Apocrypha though, right?
No, not a Jewish source.
Whoa. But these your ancestors supposedly wrote this.
Well, we don't believe in all of
the
our
Maccabees, right? How you don't believe in that? Look,
I think we accept the events of the Maccabees, but it's not considered part of the canon Jewish text. But no, we don't. It's not part of the official Bible. But I think we agree with the events of Maccabees. I'm pretty sure.
So how do you keep Feast of Dedication then?
What is the Feast of Dedications?
Exactly. That's how I know you're not a Jew. Right? That's how I know you're not a Jew. Because Christ kept the Feast of Dedication in John 10:22, correct? I'm going to tell you what the Feast of Dedication is. But Christ kept it. John 10:22, when he went up in the on Solomon's porch to keep the Feast of Dedication, Christ kept that.
Feast of Dedication. Is that Hanukkah? Is that Passover? Sukkot? What is it?
Well, I think it's Hanukkah.
Why you just see how you guessing? See, a Jew gonna know. Okay. Right? But they called it Hanukkah, right?
Hanukkah.
Y'all have 9 lights, right?
8. With the 9th light is used to light the other lights, but there's 8 official lights.
But it's 7 in the Bible. See?
Well, there's 7 for the menorah.
No. It's 7. That's a 7. It's 7.
Because Hanukkah is not in the Bible. Hanukkah was a later version.
No, Hanukkah is. Okay. Hanukkah is.
Okay.
The Maccabees.
That's not the Jewish Bible.
Hasmonean dynasty. This history, bro.
Not the Jewish Bible.
No. Yeah, it's not the Jewish. It's not your Bible, but it's ours.
Okay.
Hey, we waking up in these last days, bro. Hey, if you do what you're supposed to be doing, which is teaching the truth that you're not the real Jews, we got a crumb for you.
Okay.
You understand that?
No.
But you will, though. Listen, you're a descendant of Esau. Stop being something that you're not. You come from the nation of Esau, right? The synagogue of Satan that you serve, right? They're going down, right? That's why the thing that's happening now. And disrespectful, I ain't here to go back and forth. I'm just here to give you the truth, right?
Oh.
Just like you don't believe in the Bible, y'all believe in Targums and different things like that. That's not the inspired word of God. You have to come to the realization that Jesus is a black man. You serve a black God. Understand that, okay? I want you to understand that you serve a black Messiah, right? And when he come back, we're going to put something on your back. Stop whispering. Hide nothing in secret one from another. Stop whispering, right? See, that y'all used to whispering in the temples and stuff like that, where y'all go around the corners and I know about y'all, right? You in particular, right?
I want to get to the next.
Look in the camera. Look up. I see it in your eyes, right? I'm gonna see you again. You hear me? I'll see you again. You hear me?
Yeah. I want to. Yes.
All right. Later.
Let me know.
All glory go to God. I'm gonna check you later. All right. You've been marked. You know that. You too, Daniel. You think this because you sitting over there quiet?
Okay. Thank you.
Same for you. For both of y'all.
All right.
Hey, I'm gonna follow you. We're gonna talk again.
Okay. We'll see you soon.
Follow me back.
Okay, take care. See ya.
What I do?
Yeah. Okay. Hi, welcome next guest, Chast Keeper.
Hey, so quick question. Do you the Bible that you follow, is it what is the Old Testament?
That's what they call it, the Old Testament. We call it just the Testament. Yeah. It's the 5 books of Moses plus the 19 books of the prophets and writings, ending with Malachi.
Okay, so you said that you're still waiting for the Messiah to come, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, how will you know that he's the Messiah when he comes?
So the Rambam, the Maimonides medieval rabbi who's been accepted by all of Judaism. He compiled the different sources and he explained exactly what the Messiah is, what his qualifications are, and what he's going to do, and what's going to happen, how we're going to know what's going to happen. So he says there in a work called The Laws of Kings, chapters 11 and 12, that the Messiah...
Okay, so wait, you're doing, sorry, can you use only Bible and not Talmud to explain this?
No, we have to use Talmud as well.
So you can't use only Bible?
No.
Okay, and where does the Talmud come from?
From the creator of the universe.
The Talmud comes from the creator of the universe. Okay, so you're saying the Talmud came from the creator of the universe, just like Torah did, basically, just like the Bible did.
Yes, same or similar way, same creator, slightly different method, but yes.
Okay, and how do you know that?
The same way we know that the Torah was given by the creator through an unbroken chain of tradition. The person who wrote the Talmud, Rav Ashi, was 40 generations from Moshe. And there's an unbroken chain of exactly where he got the teachings from this person, from these people, this court of law, and this prophet. At Mount Sinai, it goes back to Moshe at Mount Sinai. It says, in the verse, is when the Creator tells Moses to go to Mount Sinai, he says, I will give to you the Torah and the mitzvah. The Torah is the written Torah, or I'll give you the tablets, the Torah, and the mitzvah. The tablets were the 10 Commandments, the Torah was the written Torah, and the mitzvah, the commandment, was the explanation of the Torah, called the oral law, which is an explanation of the commandments, which is the set of teachings that were passed down by the Creator in parallel to the written Torah. And instead of writing them down in the Torah, Moshe taught them to the Jewish people orally by word of mouth. And the Jewish people at the time took notes of these laws. And essentially, to make a long story short, these laws, which were explanations, details of the commandments that people wrote notes down, and some laws were also made by the court of 70 elders that the Creator appointed in the times of Moses, which is called the Sanhedrin. So those teachings that were given to Moses, as well as new laws that the court made under the direction of the Creator, with the Holy Spirit of the Creator, and under his direction. So those set of laws was passed down by word of mouth and by people taking notes to themselves, until eventually they were written down in the early editions of the Talmud, which essentially just compiled all of these other notes and all these other teachings that have been passed down by word of mouth. And then there's different versions until finally Rav Ashi around 360 or around 400 CE finished the version of the Talmud.
Okay, so based off the explanation that you just gave me right now, they don't sound like they're the word of God. They sound like they're notes.
Notes that were taken by Moses. Like when Moses got the word of God, Moses actually heard the Creator tell him the verse and then as the Creator told him the verse, he also told him the explanations of that verse. And then Moshe wrote down the verse, but then he told the people, he told all the Jewish people in the desert what the explanation of those verses are verbally. So he wrote down the verse is what we have, what he wrote down, but then the explanations of that verse, he told the Jewish people, the Creator himself told Moses, and then Moses told the Jewish people. And then the Jewish people took notes.
So as the explanations are clear in the only reason why I'm saying Old Testament is for context. I don't believe there's the Old Testament and a New Testament. I just believe it's all a book. It's all one only book. And so it's just a continual of the writings of what was the New Testament. But the reason why I'm saying that, so in the Old Testament, Moses clearly says, because you're saying like, oh, he told them these verbal things and they wrote them down. We have the verbal things that Moses said. That's what the Torah is. So it's not that they heard some special word from Moses that we don't already have, and because it's written right there what Moses said, and from the Most High Himself. So the Talmud, from your explanation that you just gave me, is like, if I, for example, let's say I was born in that time and I was sitting in front of Moses and Moses was giving me these words, and the words that Moses were giving were what I know as the Torah right now. the Talmud would just be a compilation of the notes that I wrote from Moses, correct?
Technically correct, but just to clarify that the words that Moshe wrote down in the Torah were only some of the things that he heard from the Creator. But the Creator also told him other things, like as an explanation for those verses, that were not written down. And those other things, there's a lot of other things that the Creator told Moses that were not written down in the Torah, but they were still told to Moses. And those other things are the things that Moses told people verbally that they took notes on. The other things, not the verses, just to clarify. But yeah.
Okay. And you said that these other things that were told to Moses, they didn't come out until 40 generations after Moses?
No, they were always known, and people took individual notes of them. They were always known by all the Jewish people, and especially by the court, the Sanhedrin of the generation, and the prophets of the generation. And the entire Jewish people would memorize them. They would learn them in school. They had a school system where they would learn the verses of the Torah, and they would also learn the laws. So they were passed down in schools by teacher to student, by prophets, by the courts. But there was never an official text that had everything like in an official order. So the point of the Talmud was to take everything that people already knew and make it in an official canon text with a very specific order and only very specific way of saying it, essentially. But the teaching.
Right, so it was 40 generations of basically playing telephone with the words of the Most High Yah, and you believe that they're concrete. When it's 40 generations of people just saying, like, you know how the game of telephone works, right? You know how like it starts from one end, and when you get to the other, it's a twisted version of what was originally said, right? So you're talking not even 40 years. I'm being generous when I said 40 years, 40 generations, because we know a generation. How long is a generation?
It varies, but yeah, the 40 generations were more than 1,000 years. I forgot exact. I think definitely more than 1,000. I think more than 1,500 years. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so you're talking hundreds of years of playing the game telephone, and you're talking about this is concrete. But at no point of time the humanity. This is what you're claiming. At no point in time, humanity didn't get into that and twerp it and distort it in no form or way. Like that didn't come on. And but the word of Moses is very concrete. That was there from the beginning. But you're talking about Talmud is concrete, and it's what you base so much of your belief system on. And this is hundreds and hundreds of years of basically playing the game of telephone. So it just doesn't make no sense on how that is concrete to me.
Okay. So my telephone, it's usually the reason why it gets distorted is because there's one person passing it down, one other person, and the only way that you know what's passed down is just based on one person saying the thing, and then you have no secondary sources to verify the information from. So that's why things can get distorted, because everything's just dependent on one line, one person to one other person. But with the Talmud, it's the same as the Torah. I mean, we don't have any manuscripts from the times of Moses, but we know that the Torah that we have, every word is the exact word of the Creator, because it was passed down from millions of people at a time to millions of people. So these people had other sources to cross-reference. It wasn't just one person whispering in the ear of someone else in the game of telephone. This was millions of people at a time teaching millions of their own kids. If one parent forgot, they could ask the other guy next to them. These millions of people heard it all the way back from the beginning. And that's the same way we know that the written Torah is true. Every word of the written Torah is true because of the tradition that was passed down from millions of people who knew it exactly to millions of other people. So if something were to get forgotten, they could just ask the next guy. And not only that, but the court of 70 judges was a court that the Creator himself appointed. In the book of Numbers, the Creator tells Moses, "Take to me 70 elders from the children of Israel, and I will take your spirit and put the spirit on these judges." So those 70 judges, that the spirit of Moses was on them. And these judges, it says, had the authority to resolve any doubt that arises. It says whenever there would be a doubt that arises in the oral law, the Creator himself gave the authority to this court to decide what the laws should be based on their own understanding. And this is the third category of laws. Essentially, the Rambam writes that there's different categories of the Talmud. Some things are passed down exactly from Moses, like certain specific laws were passed down. This is what Moses received directly. But most of the laws of the Talmud were actually made by the courts, and the court was appointed by the Creator of the universe. The court was 70 elders, and those elders would be filled up by other elders that they would appoint, or the prophets would appoint. So the point is that this court of 70 elders, called the Sanhedrin, the Creator himself gave permission to the court to decide new laws on their own understanding, and they would resolve any doubt that would arise. And the only doubts that happened were only once the Sanhedrin disbanded in the time of the temple, but that's why the Talmud. We have some new guests. Want to respond to that? You could. Hi, welcome, new guests. We'll get to you in a second. Hi, back to you. Guest keeper.
Hey, I would ask, according to Scripture, didn't those same leaders cause Israel to error, like in what they were doing?
Which leaders? The sign of the court? The court?
Yeah, the leaders who handled those type of situations, didn't they cause Israel to error in understanding?
There were like unique cases where they would make like one or two mistakes, but then afterwards they would realize there's certain laws for when the court would make a mistake, and they have to like bring a sacrifice when they're reminded of the mistake. But those are like only very specific cases. But as a whole, anything that the court said, the Jewish people had to listen to. It says in the Deuteronomy chapter 17, I think verse 11, says, if you have any doubt of any matter, any question in the Torah, whether between blood and blood or judgment to judgment, so go up to the place that the Creator will choose to rest His name there, and he'll go to this court. And the court had priests, Levites, Israelites. You should go to this court, and they will tell you what to do. And it says everything they do, you have to listen to them exactly how they say. And it says, don't stray from it right or left. And the commentaries say, even if they tell you that right is left and left is right, you still have to listen to them. And the Creator himself said that this court has the authority to decide what much of the Torah law is, a lot of the Torah law, not everything, but essentially whenever there was a doubt, they would go to this court. And again, millions of people at the time also had received the same tradition. Yeah, anyway, back to whoever was saying, Daniel or Chess Keeper, whoever's here.
I think she's on hold, but since she's on hold right now, I guess
I've just moved off the app for a second.
Sorry, I'm here. You couldn't hear me?
Wait, can I just ask Chase Keeper a question?
Yes, go.
So you're aware then that in the Old Testament, right, it says to keep and guard the Sabbath, right?
Yes.
So where in the Old Testament then does it describe what that means and how to fulfill that obligation?
It says to keep the Sabbath set apart, to keep it holy.
But what does that mean? In what way? How does one guard and keep the Sabbath?
What's the difference between guard and keep? Also, seems like the same thing.
Right. So based on strictly the Old Testament, how would you guard and keep the Sabbath?
Well, it says to remember the Sabbath day. The word keep, I feel like you're inserting that. It says to remember the Sabbath day.
No, it says Shomer HaShabbat, which means to guard. So
and it says to keep it holy. So to keep it holy means to keep it. I'm trying to explain. To keep it holy means to keep it set apart. And so for me, to keep it set apart is to keep it set apart from all of the other days of the week. So, for example, for myself, I keep the Shabbat. And so for Shabbat, I keep it set apart, as in I don't do any work on that day. I rest on that day. I don't cook on that day. I just make it a set apart holy day to the Most High Yah from all of my other days of the week. And so I just believe that the Most High knows the intentions of your heart. And so when you're implementing trying to keep his Shabbat and holy according to him, that is what matters. And so it clearly says to not do any work. It does say that there's an instruction, don't do any work in it. So that would be the thing, to don't do any work. And as in work, I would say that it means like financially, like don't be trying to make money on the Shabbat. To lay down that day, lay down the cares of the world, lay down the cares of every single day life, and that is making it holy, and that is being set apart, and that is being one with Him.
So what I would point out though is that you are inserting your interpretations of what it means to work, or what it means to set apart, or what it means to make holy. What we're saying is that along with the written Torah, there was the oral Torah, which gave specifications on what those words mean and specifically how to practice. And that's what the Talmud goes into. And the Talmud is mostly a transcript of debate between different rabbinical sources who bring Torah sources on specifically how to apply the commandments.
Yeah, so I'm not making up my own interpretation of it. We're told not to do one thing on Shabbat, and that's to work. It says you should not do any work, you or your maidservant or your manservant or your female or your ox or your donkey or whoever's within your gates. So that's the one thing you're not supposed to do. Don't work.
But your interpretation was that it means financially, right?
I mean, you work for the sake of finances, right? That's why you work.
Eating, cooking, lighting a fire. Does that work?
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up, Dot?
Where in the entire Torah does it say to wear that stupid hat you guys be wearing?
What, this thing?
Yeah. That's what I want to know. Where is it written at?
It's written. It's written.
Where is it written?
Written.
Where?
Written on our heads.
And also,
Okay. Yeah, what's up? Anyway, sorry about that. Yeah, back to the discussion. That's pretty brutal.
So basically, from my understanding of Talmud, like he said, it's a book of debates. So I would ask y'all, if y'all follow Talmud, shouldn't the written mitzvah be like the foundation of everything instead of like the interpretations and opinions of like those in the Talmud?
No. Right, but the Torah gives the commandment at a high level, and then the Mishnah, which is the foundation of the Talmud, gives further direction on how to specifically apply that.
Yeah, it is a foundation. They're both equally foundational. It's just one. The Talmud is just a detail of the Torah. The Torah is the general ideas, like the headlines, and the Talmud is the details. Like you have like a set of laws. America has a constitution. But the Constitution doesn't have every actual civil law that people keep. But there's actual civil laws that go into detail, like what does this law actually mean? You know, what did the court decide that this law means? You know, similar system.
Right. So I guess I would ask. I mean, I think I would make a point. What I think Yeshua in the New Testament, which I know y'all don't subscribe to, what I think he was kind of speaking against was those things like the leaders during that time who were using Talmud. He would call it like traditions of men. And like what it was doing, it was keeping like the Northern Kingdom brothers out, because there's a lot in the Talmud that prohibits who can be a priest. And if you got, if your skin too dark, if you got a bruise, or if you got, like disabilities and things like that, it prohibits. And it kind of, I don't think the intent that God was given, according to Ezekiel, I believe Ezekiel 37 and 36, the prophecy of the two nations being joined back together, I think it was hindering that, because it was kind of like keeping the people separate based on traditions and based on like what the Talmud says, that it's illegal for a Jew to speak to a Greek and things like that, which we know the Greek were Hellenized Israelites. So it's kind of like, not all the Greeks, but the Greeks during that time. So it's kind of like the Talmud was kind of like keeping up what we call the middle wall of partition. And that's what Paul and a lot of the other people, that's why they became like criticizers of like the leaders who we call Benjamin, Levi, and Judah. The Jews pretty much is kind of like, they were kind of like keeping it separate because it was following like a tradition of men, which I would call the Talmud, instead of like keeping Torah and saying like, you still my brother, you still like, I got to bid you back to the marriage, even though you were Hellenized, you were cast away. God is bringing you back.
Yeah, I mean, so it all goes back to the fact that the system of the Talmud, how the Talmud works, goes back to the Creator himself and Moshe. So it's not just something that people are making up. It's like the Creator set up this whole system of the Talmud with the court of judges that had the Holy Spirit on them, and it had the tradition from Moshe. So the people might not like the Talmud because they don't understand it necessarily, but what the Talmud says is the word of the Creator. I mean, the fact is, when it comes to the priest, there are certain blemishes that disqualify someone from being a priest. I mean,
There's a lot of different blemishes that are kind of arbitrary, but I mean, they're made by the rules that are made by the Creator. I mean, we don't always know why the Creator makes rules, but He does make rules, and that's what the Talmud tells us, essentially.
But I think with evidence on like in the scripture where he used certain people like for certain things, it kind of, I don't know, not contradicts in a sense, but it's kind of like it could be an interpretation that somebody got wrong and they feeling like it's inspired by God, because people do it all the time. That's how we got like different sect of religions. And I want to ask, is there just one Talmud, or is it kind of like different Talmuds?
There's two Talmuds. One was written in Jerusalem in 368 CE, and then a different edition was written in Babylon about 100 years or a little less afterwards.
So would you be a follower of both, or would you subscribe to just one?
So the Jewish tradition is that once the Babylonian Talmud was published, then that is the that's the main source that everyone follows.
Would you say that you follow Talmud over Bible?
But we don't give anything. We believe that the Bible can only be understood by the Talmud.
What about the Bible can't be understood?
Everything about it. I mean, every law. Like it says, you shall take these words, shall bind them as a sign on your hearts, and they should be an ornament between your eyes. So what does it mean that these words should be an ornament between your eyes? I mean, that's very specific, but it doesn't mean any, it doesn't really say what it means. I mean, if you say, okay, maybe a sign on your heart, maybe you could say it's metaphorical, but saying an ornament up between your eyes, like an ornament on your forehead, that's a very specific law, but it doesn't say how to do it. So according to the Talmud, it says, no, this means to take this passage of the Torah, write it on a scroll of parchment, put it in a black leather box, and attach leather straps to that box, and then put that box on your head. So it's like, the point is that the commandments of the Torah don't make any sense if they're just taken at face value. The laws have to have details. To take an American law. If American law says, like, just do not steal, period. It doesn't make any sense. You have to know what it means to steal, how is property acquired, how does property stolen. Yeah, what's up?
Well, I mean, even beyond that, right? Like, yes, there's in America, for example, a lot, not to unalive people, right? But the punishment becomes different if it's done intentionally, if it's done by accident, and there's a whole section of the Talmud that really just goes into the specifications of that, of how you determine if it was an accident or intentional or was it negligent, and what the applicable punishment is depending on the circumstances of the violation, like the written Torah doesn't go into that. The Talmud does. That's all it is. People, for some reason, have this misconception that the Talmud is inventing new laws. It's not. It's simply giving more specifications on how to apply the Torah law.
Yeah, law has to be. And the Torah is very. Welcome to our new guest, citizen of heaven.
Okay, so
My bad.
do you guys not believe that Jesus existed at all?
We believe that he existed, but we do not follow what he said. The Maimonides in the Laws of Kings, when he talks about the Messiah, which we were going to get to, but we didn't. We get to it later. But after the Maimonides says what the Messiah is, then in the end of chapter 11 in the Laws of the Kings, he says, oh, and by the way, this guy, Yehoshua, he says he was the opposite of what the Messiah is supposed to do. And he goes in detail based on the requirements that he set out beforehand and explained why everything he did was the opposite of what the Messiah is supposed to do. And he said that's why one of the reasons we don't accept him.
So do you guys have the writings of the prophets like Jeremiah,
Moses, and then we have the prophets, and then the writings up until Malachi was the last prophet.
So do you guys do you guys take the words of the prophet more than the Torah, the kings, the ones that you just said that's the total opposite?
One more time. What kings are you talking about?
The scripture that you said, oh, it's the total opposite of what Jesus did, but then we have the prophesies of where he was born, what he's going to do, everything like that from the prophets.
Sorry, I just want to clarify that Christianity there's additional books of prophets that we don't accept as canon.
I asked about Jeremiah. How about Isaiah? Do you guys take Isaiah?
Yes.
All right, so we have Jeremiah, we have Isaiah, we have I think Malachi as well. These are the people that tell you exactly like where he's going to where he's going to be born, what he's going to do, what his big thing coming on. Like let's say Isaiah 53, where it describes the suffering servant, which is we all can say is talking about the Messiah, correct?
Some people say it's referring to the Messiah. Most people would say it's referring to the servant mentioned in chapter 44, which says, Jacob, the entire Jewish people, is my servant that I have chosen. The beginning of Jeremiah 44. That's a simple meaning, is referring to Jacob, meaning the whole Jewish people. But there are some commentaries that say that some of the traits of that could refer to the Messiah, because the Messiah is also part of Jacob. The Messiah is also part of the Jewish people, so anything that applies to the Jewish people could also apply to the Messiah.
Like so, in there, can the Jewish people I think it says they mock him? Can the Jewish people mock their own selves?
Who says who mocks who?
In Isaiah 53, it says, and they mock him.
Who's they?
Exactly. I'm asking you, who's they?
It could be anyone. It could be I have to look at the commentaries, but it could be.
Because it's basically saying that his people are mocking them. So his people.
Doesn't say that. It could be the other nations of the world are mocking them.
But are they the other nations? Are they the chosen ones? Are they his people?
No, it could mean the other people are mocking the Jewish people.
Again, it says they're his people.
Whose people? Well, yeah.
Exactly. We're going to go in a circle because, to be honest with you, when you read Isaiah 53, it's a certain person that is getting mocked by his own people.
Okay.
So, are you going to say the Jewish mock their own selves?
Again, we have to look at the commentaries to see exactly what the verse means, but it definitely does not refer to Jay, because he's not mentioned anywhere.
Then I'm not asking you who is not. I'm asking you who it is. If you're saying it's the Jewish people, then the writing does not make any sense at all.
Well, then you got to learn the commentaries and learn the Talmud to explain
No,
the writing.
you get what I'm saying? It's saying they are mocking him. His people are mocking him. So if you're saying, it's talking about Israel, so Israel mocks Israel?
Well, that's why we got. That's why we have the Talmud, which explains what the verses mean. Because if we just look at the verses can mean anything. That's why we have the explanation of the verses.
All right. So what does the explanation say?
Look it up on Chabad.org. Yeah.
Look it up. Thank you for teaching me.
You're welcome. CSABAD.org. They actually have a stand up. I can look it up right now, actually, if you want. You can pull it up on my laptop. It'll just take a few minutes.
Yeah, so if you guys don't believe in
hold
Jesus,
on. I just looked it up. It doesn't say by his people. It just says that he will be shunned.
Yeah, that community.
why don't you guys have why aren't you guys doing sacrifices?
The temple was destroyed in 68 CE, and we can only do sacrifices when the temple stands in Jerusalem.
Okay, so the temple was destroyed. So it's been a very long time since the temple was destroyed, right?
Yeah, about 1968 years.
Okay, you said how long? 1968 years, so almost 2,000 years?
Yeah, since the year 68 CE.
Okay, so you don't think that maybe something happened in history, like for example, Jesus being the sacrificial lamb, made it to where your guys' people stopped doing sacrifices, like because they realized they didn't have to anymore?
I mean,
what happened is
that the destruction of the temple.
What happened was that the temple was destroyed because the Jewish people had baseless hatred towards each other. In the Talmud, the tractate Gittin, page 55, it says exactly what happened and why it happened. There was a story of a Jew who was invited to a party, and then, long story short, he was mocked at the party, and then he told the Romans to destroy the Jewish temple, and then the Romans had a year-long siege of Jerusalem, and then they eventually broke down Jerusalem because the Jews hated each other. And that's the reason why it happened at that time.
Okay, and then I know something about how it's a Jewish thing to go to this wall and write down something in on a paper and put it in the wall. I've seen videos of Jewish guys kind of I don't know what they're doing, but it looks like they're kind of like bowing to a wall type thing, like with their head.
Like praying.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
In
What's
that
that
direction,
about?
yeah. It's the western wall. That's the western retaining wall of the temple. That's all that remains of it. And so they go to that place because it's the closest place to our holiest site, and they pray in that direction.
Yeah, to clarify, they're not
Yeah, to be clear.
wall. The Talmud says that one should always face towards the temple when someone is praying. So outside the land of Israel,
I can't hear anything at all. Is that just me, or is that on his end?
He might have got a call.
Yeah, I think so too, Supreme Ruach. So yeah, basically with that wall is it to me it's just like it makes no sense. You guys are like worshiping a wall. You guys believe that the Most High resides in a building, like he resides in the bricks of that wall or something. Like it's just very, very illogical.
I mean, I understand the point of like facing east or to Jerusalem, but I like you said, I don't really understand why they, put prayers in it and all this other stuff, because it's kind of a form of like what they did with the golden calf a little bit.
Yes. So what?
I wanted him to explain Jeremiah 8:8, where Jeremiah is saying that they didn't take the laws of Moses, but they written their own laws, or they written their own things.
For Jeremiah 8:8, I went and looked up that verse because someone in the comments was saying to read that verse. I was going to ask him about it. I went and read Jeremiah. Can you hear me when I switch over to the Bible app or no?
Oh no, you had cut out.
Oh, okay, for sure. Yeah, I can't read it then because I don't got my Bible in front of me and I'm feeding my son. So I can't read it. Can you read it real quick?
Give me a second.
That does make sense. Well, if it talks about them writing their own laws, and he have a history of, the people getting together and writing their own interpretation of the laws, it's kind of like, that might be the thing that caused the people to languish. Like that might have been the thing that caused them to err. That might have been the thing.
Yeah, and he said 40 generations. That's a long time.
It says, hold on, the verse says, how can you say we are wise, for we have the laws of the Lord, when actually the lying pen of the scribe has handled it falsely. So basically, they have the laws of God, but they handled it. They handle it falsely.
I got this again.
How you doing, my dude?
What's up?
Yeah, we're here.
You guys are still here. That's good. Cool. What did I miss?
We're talking about Jeremiah 8:8.
Oh, I can't look at the references right now. But okay, what point are you trying to make?
Like what law? I mean, what have the Jewish people wrote different from the laws of the Lord?
I'm not sure exactly what do you mean?
You want me to read? I'll read it for you. Hold on.
Okay, I'm trying to find my charger because my phone's about to run out of battery. If my phone runs out of battery, then you'll know that's why the live cut out. I'm looking for my charger though. It's got to be around here somewhere. My phone might run out of battery soon, so maybe we'll have to end the live.
I followed you, man. So if you want to follow me, I followed you.
Cool. Yeah. Well, nice talking to you guys. It might cut out in a second because I can't find my charger and it's about to run out of battery. But we had a good time. I guess we could continue the discussion
if I cut out now. Oh, here. Nope. Can't find my charger anyway. Oh, here, maybe. Anyway, let's see if I could. I might have to go anyways, but we can continue.
So let me read this for you, guys. Let me read this for you.
Before you read, but what point are you trying to make?
We're trying to figure out what laws have you guys handled differently.
Then who?
If you guys have the law, you have the laws of Moses.
Well, okay, I mean,
this is what Jeremiah said. This is what I'm trying to get the understanding. How do ye say we are wise, and the laws of Jehovah is with the law of God is with us? But behold, the false pen. So this is something that's written down of the scribes has worthless falsely, has wrote it falsely. My bad.
Okay.
So so you guys have the laws of God, but the lion pen has written them falsely. So
Well,
what have you guys writing that is not the law of the Lord of God?
So you asking what that verse? I'm trying to look it up, but I'm also trying to charge like 50 things at once. What chapter is that?
Jeremiah 8:8.
Okay. I'm just looking it up. I've heard this concept before. I'm just trying to find the actual source. Oh man, Jeremiah 8.
So right there it says that you guys have the laws of the Lord, but you wrote something different, basically.
Well, it could mean, the verse itself could mean anything. That's why we have the Talmud to tell us exactly what it means. Let me look it up. How do you say we are wise, and the law of the Lord is with us? Verily, behold, it is in vain. He made a false scribe's pen. I mean, it doesn't say what it's referring to. I mean, that could refer to anything. Let me just look up.
I mean, it sounds like it might be hinting at the explanation you gave with Talmud.
Sorry to me?
Yeah.
Was that a question? I didn't get that.
Oh no, that was I was taking a crack at it, trying to see like what it was hinting at, but with the explanation you gave, it sounds like it's hinting at what you guys would call like Talmud, like the commentary.
I don't think so, because the Talmud's rarely mentioned in the prophets. And here, let me look it up.
The Talmud is rarely mentioned in the prophets. That is more reason for its illegitimacy.
Okay, how can you say we are wise if it?
Let's read it very loud and clear.
How can you say we are wise, as we have traditions and books, and the law of the Lord is with us? Indeed, behold, he rendered it falsehood, the deceitful pen of the scribe, since you do not affirm with your actions what the pen has written. That's what I see in the explanation.
So it says you have traditions and books. That's what it says.
It says they're false because you have not affirmed with your actions what the pen has written.
No, before that it said something about traditions.
It says a lot of things, but the point.
No, but before that, can you read it again, please?
Okay. How can you say we are wise, as we have traditions and books, and the law of the Lord is with us? Indeed, behold, he rendered it falsehood, the deceitful pen of the scribe, since you do not affirm with your actions what the pen has written.
Yeah, so what does that mean? What is that referring to?
It seems just referring to everything. The Jewish people, like, based on their actions and their sins, it's like they rendered it like as if it was falsehood. It seems like what it's saying.
Not just off their actions. It says the pens of the scribes. So that's not just actions. That's something that was written down.
It sounds like
the Radak. This is a commentary of the Radak. It says that
It's okay if you can't answer it right now, sir. Just one thing that I learned from this app is that sometimes you get questions from people that make you have to think about something, a thing or two, you know, and sometimes you gotta go take it in and study it for a little bit to be able to come back with a response. So it's okay.
Yeah.
Don't feel like you're in the hot seat for something,
The commentary of the Radak mentions that the newness will be that the children of Israel will have grown to the extent that they will no longer fall prey to their evil actions. So it's basically saying like it was false because of their actions of the law. Not that the law itself was false, but just their actions.
No, we understand that their actions didn't follow the law of the Lord, but it also says the lion pen scribe. It's basically something written down. The scribe, the lion, I think it was the pen of the lion scribes or something like that, or something like that. So it's something written down because you need a pen to write scribes, to write something down. We're trying to figure out what is that is written down.
Entirety of the law. It's like they didn't keep the law, so to them it was like falsehood. I'm pretty sure that's what it was trying to say.
Again, we understand that they didn't keep their laws by their actions. We understand that 100%. This is why, everything had to happen. They couldn't keep the laws. It was impossible for them to keep their laws. They had their own actions. It's completely impossible for them to keep the laws. We understand that. But what was written down? The lion pen. That's what it has. When you use a pen, hold on. It's something about the pen and the scribe. It's something. Hold on.
It's just talking about the entirety of the law, all the law, not necessarily anything specific, just the law. It's like metaphor. The whole thing's just metaphorical. It's not like actual. It's just
All right.
So were they metaphorically not keeping the law?
No, they were keeping. That's the explanation. That is the metaphor explanation. So that's not what's written. That was the explanation. But what's actually written is just a metaphor. It's just saying like it was false because they weren't keeping it. And look at the verse after that. Wise men were ashamed. They were broken and cut. They rejected the word of the Lord. Now what wisdom have they? That's like the context right after the verse right after that.
Could that possibly be through like the interpretations that they were spreading?
It's referring to all of the law, regardless of what it is. It's just saying the entirety of the law was they just weren't keeping it. It's not about this is not about a difference between the Talmud and not the Talmud. The Talmud is an essential part of the law. There's no law without the Talmud. So it's just saying that they weren't keeping it.
So the word says
they weren't keeping it.
So the word says is the lion.
There's an echo.
The lion pen of the scribes.
What verse is this?
Oh, sorry. Let me take the Bluetooth. Jeremiah 8:8. It says the lion pen of the scribes.
I don't see the word lion, dude.
So this is something written.
I don't see any lion pen, dude. Anyway, I'm not sure what lion pen is.
What do you have?
Says, how do you say we are wise and the law of the Lord is with us? Verily, behold, it is in vain. He made a false scribe's pen. It's just like metaphors, dude.
So it's a false. So we have a false scribe's pen. Lying and false is the same thing, bro.
Pen that's false. Oh, lying. I thought you meant like a lion. Okay. Yeah, I thought you meant the word lion. Again, this is just talking about the entirety of the...
You say it's a false pen.
Okay.
I'm breaking up. I'm sorry.
It's a sign from the Creator that maybe we're right.
Nah, it's always when I'm in the street.
Yep. The fact that you're in the street now is also a miracle, you know. It's all miracles. It's a sign. It's one of the 10 plagues, dude. You could see with your own eyes that we're right.
So when we talk about a false, if something is false, that means it's not true, right? It's not true.
Dude.
Correct?
It wasn't true because they weren't keeping it. Not that it itself wasn't true. It was true, but the way they were keeping it. Look at the verse after, the verse 9, dude. Look at verse 9.
Yeah, I understand. This has nothing to do with them metaphorically, because the next thing that he just said is basically they did not do what the law said.
Yeah.
I understand that, and that's not metaphorically.
So I guess with your stance be that they were keeping it incorrectly.
Some of them were keeping it incorrectly. That's why the prophets existed, to reprimand the Jewish people to keep the law properly. They knew what the law was, they just weren't keeping it. The law itself is still true, they just weren't keeping it. That happens to the best of us, you know.
Yeah, now
It's not it's false. The law is
my bad, I didn't hear you.
What was that? I didn't hear you.
I was just gonna ask, besides those who wrote Talmud or came up with the commentary of Talmud, did the prophets teach Talmud?
The prophets taught it, yes. Not in the books of the prophets themselves, but they taught it individually to the people of the generation. Yeah, they learned it and taught it. Definitely, 100%.
Question: was the Torah mentioned by other prophets?
Was what?
Was the Torah mentioned by other prophets?
The Torah, yeah. Zichu Torah Moshe Avdi. And then
Okay, so this is a great like teaching right here. So if the prophets talked about the Torah completely, they all talked about the Torah. Why didn't they talk about the Talmud?
Because the Talmud is the Torah.
So the Talmuds are the 5 books of Moses.
The Talmud is the explanation of the Torah. The Talmud and the Torah go together. The Talmud is the law of Moses.
So did any of them talk about the explanation of that? So it's not the same thing. It's not.
Hey, my phone's running out of battery.
So the Torah is here. The Talmud is the explanation of the Torah. How can that be the same thing?
If the Talmud is the Torah, why is the Torah and the Talmud is the Talmud? Like, why are they separate? Why is it two different things?
No. Wait, what's the sound?
Hey, we gave both of y'all a follow, my Christian brothers, sisters. Y'all just keep doing your thing. I gotta go. God bless y'all. Let the Lord continue guiding y'all. That'll be easy.
Yeah, I'm about to drop as well. His phone probably died anyway.
Well, if you on later, you probably be on later. I know it's the Shabbat.
Yeah, I still go on my phone on Shabbat.
I got you. So if you on live, I'll come to one of your rooms or something.
All right, cool. Yeah, bless you. You have a good day.
All right, shalom, y'all.